Chapter 1331. At the border between Wulong City and Gaoyang City, in front of the barrier, Yin Yin and Wen Xian, whose combat strength had increased to 195, were on par with Wang Kai. They waited quietly with Li Xiaohua. Wang Kai, on the other hand, was very relaxed. He was lying on his side in the air, holding the side of his head and looking down with a playful expression. He wanted to see what the so-called battle between women was like. How long will it take for her to come? Wen Xian frowned and asked impatiently. She will be here soon. Are we really going to beat her up? Li Xiaohua pursed her red lips, even though she was full of murderous intent towards that woman. But no matter what, she was still from Gaoyang City. Wulong City would definitely not be a match for her if they fought. When the time came, it was still unknown whether Wang Kai and the others could deal with her. Li Xiaohua did not mind if she fought alone, but she did not want to implicate Wen Xian and Yin Yin, who were willing to help her. Beat her up? Humph, that's a light punishment. Wen Xian curled her lips and snorted disdainfully. I won't fight then. Junior sister Wen Xian, you do it. Yin Yin said softly with her hands behind her back. Okay, senior sister Yin, don't worry. Leave it to me. Wen Xian nodded in agreement. Wen Xian naturally would not give up such a good opportunity to teach her a lesson. Aren't you sisters? Li Xiaohua blinked her beautiful eyes and looked at them with some surprise. We are sisters. She is my senior sister, and I am her junior sister. Wen Xian looked at her with some confusion. Looking at the strange look on her face, what exactly did she think the relationship between her and Yin Yin was? Why did it feel a little strange? So, they're not sisters. I thought the boss wanted to play with his sister-in-law. Li Xiaohua was a little embarrassed and could not help but look up at Wang Kai. She blinked her beautiful eyes and secretly sent a voice transmission. Boss, tonight, I will help you blow it? Wang Kai, who was waiting to watch a good show, was immediately energized when he heard the voice transmission. Not only do you have to blow it for me, but also have to have sex. Okay, I will listen to the boss. Li Xiaohua lowered her head slightly and replied shyly through voice transmission. Regarding this, Wang Kai could be said to be extremely excited. He had just arrived in Wulong City, but he had already gotten his first girl. Moreover, she was the type who was obedient and knew how to please men. It was indeed not bad. Li Xiaohua, how did you get 1,000,002 coins so quickly? Suddenly, a bewildered voice sounded. A middle-aged woman with heavy makeup walked out of the barrier. When he saw that Li Xiaohua was not alone, he pursed his lips and sneered. Yo-yo, you found helper? What are you trying to do? Taking revenge on me? Overestimating yourself. Your younger brother is dead meat. The middle-aged woman sneered disdainfully. What's your name? Wen Xian put her hands on her waist. She was wearing yoga pants and tights. When it was used, it was quite mesmerizing. However, she had an extremely fierce appearance. It was obvious that they were about to fight. Seeing her like this, Wang Kai's mouth couldn't help but twitch. It seemed that she had been watching too many movies recently. She had learned the temperament of a female hooligan. She was even more a hooligan than a hooligan. My surname is Mei, and my name is Meow. You could just call me Sister Meow. Little girl, you have a good figure with a curvy front and back. Do you want to come with me to Gaoyang City? Not only will you have a man to play with every day, but you will also get a lot of 2 coins. Meow Meow pursed her red lips and invited Lin Mingya coquettishly. You're called Meow Meow, right? That's a good name. F*CKU. Smack. Suddenly, Wen Xian valiantly cursed and slapped the middle-aged woman, catching her off guard. Immediately, the middle-aged woman was slapped to the ground. However, that was not the end of it. Wen Xian quickly stepped forward and grabbed the middle-aged woman's hair. She lifted the woman's head and began to kick it violently. The woman's makeup was completely ruined. Even her nose was starting to deform. Oh my, your nose has been fixed. Have you done it here? Bang! Wen Xian smiled disdainfully and grabbed the woman's chest. She pulled hard. Astonishingly, she took out a piece of silica gel. She was originally a curvy middle-aged woman. Her chest was deflated. You really have done it. Little girl, beat her up for me. Wen Xian let go of the middle-aged woman and smiled proudly. You, with your combat power, You shouldn't be Wulong. Ah, smack, smack, before the middle-aged woman could finish her sentence. Even Li Xiaohua, who rushed over, gave him a tight slap. She was beaten so badly that she could not control herself. Make a call immediately and send my brother here. Otherwise, I'll kill you right now. Li Xiaohua took out a dagger and placed it in front of her neck. She used a little force and cut the skin on her neck. Blood slowly flowed down. I'll call right now. The middle-aged woman, who was dirty and disheveled, quickly took out her mobile phone and shouted in panic. Bring Li Xiaoli to Wulong City immediately. Right now. Right now. This little girl Wenxian is really fierce. Wang Kai sat in the air and could not help but touch his nose. It was the first time he saw a woman fight like that. However, it was extremely explosive. My big brother is one of the 4 heavenly kings of Gawang City. He has thousands of underlings, and each of them has a combat power of no less than 180. Think about the consequences, otherwise smack. Smack! Before she could finish, when Xian slapped her and said disdainfully, so what if you have a combat power of 1,800? We have a braggart in our family. He can increase his combat power by just bragging. If we want to, we can rule the second universe in a day. Keep bragging. You'll regret it when the time comes. The middle-aged woman laughed coldly and fell to the ground, secretly angry. Soon, under the lead of a few burly men, a handsome young man in a white suit was brought to Wulong City. A few red lipstick marks could be seen clearly on the young man's face. It was obvious that he had just been kissed by a woman. Moreover, his pants seemed to have been taken off. There were even tents bulging in some places. It was obvious what he had been through before he was brought here. Sister, you D***MN woman, what kind of work did you make my brother do? Li Xiaohua was shocked and angry. She immediately stepped forward and slapped her hard. The middle-aged woman immediately fell to the ground and fainted. You get lost now? When Xian's eyes were cold as she glared at the burly men. Just you wait. The burly men held their breaths, picked up the middle-aged woman, and quickly left. Chapter 1332. You don't trust me anymore. I'll see you in a bottle. Wang Kai's face darkened as he grunted unhappily. He immediately left Wulong Bar in a huff. What a bottle? Yin Yin pursed her lips and asked curiously. It should be a unique method of communication. Why don't we go and learn it? When Xian blinked her beautiful eyes as she suggested in surprise. In this regard, Yin Yin agreed with him. He saw that their minds were filled with questions about the message in a bottle. Wang Kai was speechless. Sir, here's a flyer. A young lady in her 20s handed a flyer to Wang Kai with a smile. Wang Kai frowned as he took the flyer and scanned through it. What? Hiring a bodyguard? A schoolgirl? Is this a junior high school? A missy? A girls' school? A monthly salary of $1,002,002. Willing to work hard without complaint, not afraid of death. If you die, you'll be compensated with $10,002,002? Wang Kai's face was filled with shock. What he couldn't understand was not the recruitment. It was the $2. A monthly salary of $1,002,002? Aren't they too King rich? Was there such a powerful person in Wulong City? Little brother, I can see that you have an amazing bone structure. You must be a cultivation genius. If you apply, I can introduce you to a martial arts club. You can practice taking a beating every day so that you won't be played to death by that missy. The young lady who handed out the flyer smiled as she looked at Wang Kai. I thought you were going to sell me a martial arts manual. Wang Kai rubbed his nose as he looked at her with black lines on his forehead. He said lightly, Young lady, I can see that you're curvy. You must be capable. Why don't you become my little lover and practice taking a beating every day so that you won't be beaten to death if you say the wrong thing? You're bullying me? Do you believe that I'll ask my brother to beat you? The little girl who was handing out the flyers immediately blushed and glared at Wang Kai. This Wulong City isn't that big, but there are quite a lot of big brothers. Come, call your big brother over, but before that, I'll play with you 1,000 times. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and looked at her playfully. He stretched out his hand and said, You can scream, call and scream, or start running now. Run to your brother. I promise you that before you can make the call, before you can even move, I will make you scream in pleasure. You, the little girl who had just taken out her phone, immediately turned pale with fright. With a trembling body, she sobbed and said, I was wrong, okay? Little brother, don't make things difficult for me. I dropped out of school when I was young. I don't have parents. I'm all alone. All right, if you want to settle this matter, it's very simple. Just give me a kiss, and this matter will be settled. Wang Kai shrugged and said casually, okay. Without any hesitation, the little girl stood on her tiptoes and kissed Wang Kai. Then, her face turned pale, and she ran away. Such an open-minded girl, sigh. Compared to the two at home, she's really something. Wang Kai shrugged, looked at the address marked on the flyer, and immediately stepped into the air and left. Butler, how's the recruitment going? Is there no one who's more capable? Inside a luxurious manor, a middle-aged man was covered in gold and silver, which made him look very dazzling. Master, we came from Gawang City to seek refuge. How can the people of Wulong City protect us? The young miss still wants to go to school this Sai? A white-haired old man in a suit sighed continuously. If the young miss wants to go to school, then let her go. If it doesn't work, then find the assassin organization in Gawang City and ask them to send someone over. The middle-aged man frowned and said calmly, but if we find them, we'll be exposed easily. Moreover, the price they're asking is too high. I'm afraid it'll be $10 million a month. In my opinion, if the young miss wants to go to school, then let her live a normal life. There's no need. Bullsh asterisk T. How can my daughter live a normal life? Even if she's used to it, I might not be able to. Let's just find a few scapegoats to protect her. I heard that the guys sent by the enemies in Gawang City are pursuing Shinshin, right? Hee hee. They want to use this as an excuse to get my family heirloom. How foolish. The middle-aged man sneered with disdain. Yes, just a few random guys. They'll definitely be killed by those guys. Our flyer states clearly that each of them will have to pay $10 million as compensation. If they care about that, why should we care? If they're dead, then they're dead. We'll just destroy their bodies and throw them into the sea. Before the butler could finish, the middle-aged man waved his hand to show his impatience. Master, butler, a young man wants to apply for the job. Oh, as a servant came in to report, the middle-aged man and the butler were stunned. Go and do it. Let him take up his post today. The middle-aged man said calmly. Yes, master. The old butler sighed and left the room. At the same time, in a luxurious living room, Wang Kai sat on the sofa with his legs crossed. When the old butler came in, he said casually, let's see if I'm qualified. Qualified, very qualified. After hearing the old butler's reply, Wang Kai's mouth twitched. He looked at him suspiciously and wondered if there was something wrong with this recruitment. How about you start work today? If you agree, I'll prepare your clothes immediately. The old butler said with a solemn expression. Will I really die? Wang Kai pretended to be afraid and asked. Yes, whether you'll die or not depends on your ability. The flyer states clearly that we need a powerful bodyguard. If you don't have that ability, why are you here? Are you here to cheat your monthly salary? At this point, the old butler sneered disdainfully and said, then you deserve to die. Okay, change your clothes. Start work today. Wang Kai snapped his fingers, stood up, and said straightforwardly, this is your uniform. Then, a servant came in with a black suit and a pair of black sunglasses. Most importantly, there was a dagger on the bottom of a leather shoe. Are you applying for the job of a bodyguard or a spy? I don't kill people. Wang Kai frowned and said speechlessly, if you don't kill people, others won't kill you either. Whether or not you can kill people and whether or not others will kill you depends on your own ability. This is a weapon for you to protect yourself. Do as you see fit. Don't throw it away. The old butler waved his hand and said casually. Chapter 1333. Where are we going now? After getting dressed, Wang Kai asked playfully. Shower, go and drive him to Gawang City Academy. The old butler said calmly. Yes, butler. Shall we? The waiter was a young man with a buzz cut. He looked smart. Gawang City Academy, a junior high school for girls. TSK, TSK. Are there many beauties there? Wang Kai asked with a smile. Yes, there are indeed many. However, your task is to protect the young ladies, not to flirt. Also, from today onwards, you will be living in the academy. You have to pay attention to everything. Oh, right? There are many young ladies there. Their family backgrounds are not bad, and they have bodyguards and servants with them. You have to learn how to act tough. In short, you have to protect the reputation of the young ladies. Do you understand? The waiter turned his head slightly to remind him as he drove. Who are you talking to? What do you mean by do you understand? Who are you questioning? Did I give you some face? Get out of here. I want this car. Wang Kai furrowed his brows as he grabbed the waiter and forcefully shoved him out of the window. After the car was driven away, the waiter crawled up from the ground. Looking at the escaping Wang Kai, he was so scared that his face turned pale. I won't act tough with him. This kid is not easy to deal with. How am I going to explain this to the butler? Oh, right. I'll say that he saw the car and took it away. At the same time, after some inquiries, Wang Kai arrived at Gon City Academy. After showing the Lin family's identification, Wang Kai drove into the academy. Lin Xin, the young lady of the Lin family. Hee. Wang Kai walked towards the teaching building with a smile. Along the way, he met many beauties. They were all very young and immature. However, each of them had a bodyguard by their side. When they saw Wang Kai walking over, they casually sized him up and left indifferently. Are they looking down on me? Wang Kai frowned and could not help but touch his nose. Whose bodyguard are you? Which class? What's your name? The dean was a middle-aged man wearing glasses. He pushed up his glasses and asked Wang Kai. Oh, class 1? Her name is Lin Xin. Wang Kai shrugged and said casually, Lin Xin, are you her bodyguard? The dean looked at Wang Kai with admiration. He patted Wang Kai's shoulder and said, Young man, the world is unfair, but you can't joke about your life. You'd better leave before you see your master. What does that mean? Wang Kai looked at him in surprise. He had never thought that this old man would be able to persuade him. Ahem, 19 of her bodyguards have already died. You're the 20th. When they died, their corpses were destroyed without a trace. The dean reminded him softly. So scary? Not bad, not bad. I like the feeling of excitement. Wang Kai shrugged and casually walked up to the second floor. He found the location of Class 1. It was obviously not class time now. The female students in the class were gathered together and chatting. Some were on the phone, some were eating, some were putting on makeup. Who's Lin Xin? Wang Kai put on his black sunglasses and walked into the classroom with small steps. His words immediately attracted everyone's attention. However, after a glance, they realized that he was just a bodyguard. They looked away and continued with their own things. You're Lin Xion's bodyguard? Damn, you're quite something. You dare to be your bodyguard? Do you want to die? 3 or 4 bodyguards of other female students walked over in shock. The rest of the bodyguards tried their best not to have anything to do with Wang Kai. They knew very well that Wang Kai was dead meat. What's wrong? Is there anyone in this school who is unhappy with Lin Xian? Why did she kill her bodyguards? Wang Kai furrowed his brows and asked playfully. No, there's no one who is unhappy with her. She's the goddess of Gon City College, the top campus belle. Do you know what that means? There are plenty of female students who are chasing after her. Yeah, the most important ones are the bodyguards of the few members of the student union. Those guys have always been interested in Lin Xian. I heard that the deaths of her bodyguards were related to them. It can't be. Lin Xian killed some of them, right? The bodyguards spoke one after another, and Wang Kai understood what was going on. The members of the student union and their bodyguards were all very strong. They were interested in Lin Xian and killed her bodyguards. Moreover, Lin Xian had killed her own bodyguards. Where is she now? Wang Kai frowned and asked impatiently. A goddess of a girls' school, a girl who could make female students chase after her. She must be very beautiful. She was called to the student union. I heard that the president of the student union wants to invite her to join the union. Where is the student union? Take me there. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and quickly grabbed a bodyguard. He was about to leave the classroom as he spoke. The bodyguard combat power was obviously in the 40s. However, He did not have the ability to resist at all. Seeing this scene, the rest of the bodyguards were watching Wang Kai finally understood. The bodyguard that Lin Xian had hired this time was definitely not simple. Wait, why are you grabbing my bodyguard? If he leaves, who will protect me? I'm as beautiful as a flower. How many times are you as beautiful as a flower? Wang Kai frowned and looked at the female student in front of him speechlessly. His appearance was ugly to a certain extent. It was indescribable. In short, Wang Kai might vomit if he took another look at her. Ha ha ha. However, Wang Kai's vulgar words made many female students laugh nonstop. It directly caused the eyes of the ugly girl to turn red. Damn, that's too much. Wang Kai touched his nose and secretly scolded himself for not controlling well. Immediately, he secretly communicated with the system and said, "Change her appearance. It doesn't have to be peerless. A normal one will do." Congratulations to the host for successfully using the system's function. 100 bragging points have been consumed. Buzz. When the system notification disappeared, the female student who was originally extremely ugly suddenly became extremely attractive. At least in this class, she could be ranked in the top 10. The rest of the female students were all stunned on the spot. Could it be that after being scolded by him, she will become more beautiful? Aya, come and scold me. Come and scold me quickly. In an instant, many female students rushed towards Wang Kai. They surrounded him and begged to be scolded. Wang Kai touched his nose and reached out his hand. He was very disobedient and grabbed all over their bodies. After causing them to scream in embarrassment and anger, Wang Kai disappeared from the classroom. Along with the ugly girl's bodyguard, he disappeared. Chapter 1334. Are we really going to the student union? It's not a good place, and not everyone can go in. The bodyguard of the ugly female classmate was obviously scared. While leading the way, he kept reminding Wang Kai, "The place of the student union is not for anyone to enter." "What is it for?" Wang Kai heard this and touched his nose, looking a little surprised. "No, the members of the student union are all aristocratic ladies, and their bodyguards are all very strong. Preliminary calculations show that their combat power should be over 90. The bodyguard carefully reminded him. Combat power over 90. In Wulong City, he could be considered one of the top fighters. But from the bodyguard's words, it seemed that he did not know the real combat power of the other party. Aristocratic ladies are good, right? I like to play with aristocrats. Wang Kai grinned, patted him on the shoulder, and lightly said, "Lead the way well. Who knows? Maybe I can find a noble lady for you to play with." I don't dare. The power of the student union is greater than that of the principal. You should go by yourself. There's a corridor up ahead, and it's all the student union's territory. The student union's meeting room is at the end of the corridor. When they reached the 4th floor, the bodyguard pointed in a direction and quickly turned and ran. The power of the student union is greater than that of the principal. Is it that awesome? Wang Kai touched his nose and walked away casually. At the same time, in the student union's meeting room, at the end of a long table, a beautiful blonde girl with twin ponytails was sitting. She was wearing the unique white student union uniform. Furthermore, her weapon was indeed extremely fierce. It looked like it was going to burst out of her clothes and fall out. Beside her on both sides, 2 young women were sitting in the middle of the room. One had short silver hair and an expressionless face. The other had long black hair and was holding a long knife in her hand. Behind the 3 girls stood a young man in a suit. "Why did you call me here?" At the door, a young girl in an ordinary black school dress, with a gentle and beautiful face, but an unusually cold temperament, was gently stroking her shoulder-length red hair as she asked coldly. This girl was the campus belle of Gon City Academy, Lin Xian. The blonde beauty with a lethal weapon sitting in the center was called Alice, the president of the student council. The girl with short silver hair was called Lucille. She was the vice president of the student council. The black-haired woman holding a long saber was called Han Yu, the vice president of the student council. Join the student council and manage discipline. The student council president, Alice said resolutely. Just say yes. This is the 9th time I've invited you. How many times has it been? My saber can no longer tolerate you. Han Yu, who was holding a long saber, coldly said, TSK, TSK, are you going to stab her with your knife? TSK, TSK, that would definitely be a marvelous sight. The silver-haired woman, Lucille, pursed her lips. I can join the student council, but you have to fire the bodyguards behind you. Don't let them appear in Gon City Academy again. Lin Xian looked at them calmly and said coldly, Hee, we won't agree to this. That's right. It's because of them that we invited you. Lin Xian immediately lost interest in their response. She turned around and pushed open the door. She coldly said, Then don't come looking for me again. Don't go. However, the door had just been opened when one of the 3 young men directly arrived in front of the door in a flash and firmly shut it. What do you mean? Lin Xian frowned and took a few steps back in disgust. If you don't join us today, then we'll strip you naked and let the 3 of them take turns with you. Hee. Alice covered her face and laughed coquettishly. TSK, TSK. There's also Han Yu's saber. It also wants to stab her. The silver-haired Lucille pursed her lips and said, How dare you? Lin Xian's pretty face was frosty as she shouted sternly. Bang! However, what she got was that the young man threw her onto the table. He waved his hand and threw out a few throwing knives. The clothes on her limbs were pinned onto the table accurately. Don't move. If you move, your clothes will be gone. The young man grinned and took off his glasses, revealing a pair of green eyes. The other 2 young bodyguards also walked forward one after another. They surrounded Lin Xian in the center and looked at her with hostility. You have one last chance now. Do you agree or not? Alice asked calmly. I can stab you with my saber at any time. Han Yu said coldly. She stepped forward and pulled out her long saber. She placed it on Lin Xian's lower abdomen. Furthermore, it was slowly moving downwards. Lin Xian's pretty face turned pale as she felt the icy chill in the air. She did not expect that they would be serious this time. If she had known this would happen, she would not have come over. I agree to join the student union. Lin Xian pursed her red lips and hurriedly agreed. Oh, then why don't you drip your blood essence on the student council's identity card? In case you go back on your word, we can use this identity card to kill you. Alice smiled faintly. She took out a blue card and threw it in front of Lin Xian. As long as she dropped her blood on it, her life would be under Alice's control. Lin Xian knew very well. Alice was able to control Gon City College. It was all because she controlled the principal and teachers with identity cards. Most of the students would not be able to escape. Once she dropped her blood on it, she would not be able to escape. You are lying to us, aren't you? Alice smiled coldly and said calmly, Since the 3 of you want her so badly, do it quickly. We don't need you to remind us. Lin Xian, don't blame us. Blame your father. Gowong City could not tolerate him, so he escaped to Wulong City. Do you know that the family of the 3 sisters is a branch family of our immediate superior? The 3 young men smiled coldly and reached out to grab Lin Xian's clothes. Oh, what are you doing here? Buzz. Wang Kai had been watching from the side for a long time. Now that he saw that his master was about to be raped, he could not sit still and immediately revealed himself. However, when they saw Wang Kai, who had suddenly appeared, their expressions changed slightly. They had been hiding here all this time and did not notice him? Combat strength 170. Combat strength 190. Combat strength 180. The 3 of you, are only slightly over 80. Wang Kai glanced at the 3 bodyguards and then looked at the 3 girls from the student union. For a moment, he was speechless. He had thought that they would be very powerful, but they were all below him. Who are you? Alice frowned and asked coldly. Chapter 1335. Who am I? Who am I? I'm the Bigly Kue from somewhere. Wang Kai shrugged and said with a playful smile, Bigly Kue? Why haven't I heard of it? The few of them were confused. Kill him. Han Yu swung her black blade and slashed at Wang Kai. In response, Wang Kai curled his lips. With a flip of his hand, he shattered her long blade and sent her body flying. She crashed into the wall and her legs were split open. Along her black stockings, her white pants could be seen. Not bad. You like being F***ed, don't you? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and said playfully. You. Han Yu's face flushed red, and she stood up immediately. She covered her skirt with her trembling hands. Are you looking for death? Buzz. The three bodyguards attacked at the same time. However, in the end, he was still sent flying by Wang Kai's slap while vomiting blood. My combat power is 10,000. Wang Kai put his hands behind his back and said with a proud expression, Congratulations to the host for bragging successfully. You have received 100 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for increasing your combat power by 10 points. Host, Wang Kai title, Scum of the Warrior Realm. Supreme combat power, 205 bragging points. 200 experience. 0/100, one of the four heavenly kings of Gawang City, the Tiger King's family. The Tiger King is our big brother. Have you thought about your fate? Your combat power is definitely not 200. Compared to the Tiger King, you are too weak. Several bodyguards stood up with ashen faces and stared coldly at Wang Kai. For heavenly kings? Gawang City? Tiger King? Wang Kai was shocked. He touched his nose and said, Don't tell me you are one of the four heavenly kings of death? Come on, I'll kill one of them. As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Kai carried Lin Exen and left the student union. Looks like the Lin family spent a lot of money to find someone. What should we do? Inform the Tiger King. We are no match for him. After a brief discussion, the bodyguards left the Gawang City Academy, one after another. With Wang Kai around, there was nothing he could do to Lin Exen. He had initially wanted to take advantage of the fact that the Tiger King had given the order to make Lin Exen his. At that time, he would be able to change the title of the little brother and become the big brother. But now, it seemed that his dream had been shattered. Guild leader, they've all left. Will we be in trouble? The silver-haired woman, Lucille, asked worriedly. No, we're just working for the Tiger King's men. If they're looking for trouble, they should be looking for the Tiger King and the others. What does it have to do with us? Alice waved her hand and said rather casually, That young man is very hateful. Han Yu bit her red lips, and her beautiful face couldn't help but blush. Isn't it just my underwear being seen? Was it necessary? It's better not to look for trouble with him anymore, lest he strips you naked. Take a closer look, TSK. Perhaps you'll even be raped. The silver-haired woman smiled playfully. If he exists, our student union will have no status in the academy. Lin Exen will definitely use him to deal with us. Han Yu said coldly. Hearing this, Alice and Lucille both frowned. After treating Lin Exen like this today, it would be strange if she didn't take revenge. When she didn't have the strength, she might be able to endure it. But now that she had such a strong bodyguard, would she still be able to endure it? Obviously, it was impossible. Then what do you think we should do? We can't beat that brat. Alice spread out her hands helplessly. It's very simple. It's too easy to lure him with your weapon. I've been paying attention to him just now, and from time to time, he would peek at you. Han Yu bit her red lips and said. As she spoke, she couldn't help but look down at her own. It was pitifully small and could only be said to be average. The silver-haired woman lowered her head even more. At a glance, it was almost as if there was nothing. Even if the seduction succeeded, so what? None of us can kill him. Alice covered her chest with her hands and took a few steps back shyly. Don't forget, he's just a bodyguard. As long as we give him enough 2 coins and let him experience your weapon, I think any man will agree. At least that brat just now will be tempted. Han Yu said coldly with confidence. Yes, I also think it will succeed. Just now, that brat was so lecherous that he kept peeking at your chest. The silver-haired woman nodded and said, You mean you want me to poach the brat and make him our student union's bodyguard? Then we can't take revenge like this. Alice was speechless. At this point, she was already a little confused. We're not looking for him to take revenge. He's just a bodyguard who's paid to do things. The one we want to deal with is Lin Exen. Preventing her from dealing with us is the best way. Han Yu said coldly. Then what should I do? Alice came to a realization and could only listen and do as she was told. It was indeed not a pleasant thing to be found trouble by Lin Xian. Prepare for a swimming lesson. When the time comes, let the teacher assign you to the same group as that brat, and let him teach you how to swim. When the time comes, you only need to use your weapon. Hanyu blinked her beautiful eyes and smiled coldly. TSK Tisk will also help you from the side. Will definitely make you, cough cough, will definitely succeed. The silver-haired woman, Lucille, said. Okay. Alice furrowed her brows and tried to recall Wang Kai's appearance. He was not bad, and his strength was outstanding. It didn't matter if he took advantage of her. As long as he could deal with Lin Xian, it was enough. At the same time, in the corridor, Lin Xian struggled to walk by herself. Wang Kai followed behind her. What's your name? Lin Xian asked. My surname is Hubby. Wang Kai said casually. Well, my husband. How much is your combat strength? Lin Xian didn't think too much about it. She pursed her red lips and asked seriously. More than 20,000. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and answered casually. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've gained 100 experience and bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully increasing your combat strength by 10 points. Well, if it's more than 200, how much does my father give you per month? Lin Xian didn't believe that his combat strength was more than 20,000. Instead, she directly thought that Wang Kai's combat strength was more than 200. Furthermore, he had guessed correctly. He gave me 1,200,000 a month. Well, in addition to a special service, he gave me an extra 200,000. You want me to stay by your side no matter if it's day or night. Also, from now on, you can only live in the school dormitory. I'll stay with you. Wang Kai pretended to be serious as he looked at her and said, That's impossible. Don't talk nonsense. Lin Xian was suddenly ashamed and angry. She pointed at Wang Kai and shouted angrily. Chapter 1336. Dean, he molested me. If you want to sleep with me, you want to sleep on the same bed. When I went to the washroom just now, he followed me. He even stripped Alice, the president of the student union, and hugged her to pee. Finally, he even took off his pants in front of me and tried to pee in front of me. In an instant, Lin Xian seemed to have opened up a chatterbox. She chattered incessantly. Moreover, her choice of words was rather aggressive. She did not look ladylike at all. She was so infuriated by Wang Kai that she was on the verge of losing her mind. Huh? You said you were discussing dormitory matters? All right, no problem. You can go to the female dormitory and talk to the dormitory leader. I'll help you with the paperwork later. I'll get back to work. The dean adjusted his glasses and pretended to be old and dim-sighted. He waved his hand and left hurriedly with small steps. As Lin Xian's bodyguard, not only would he be safe and sound, he could even make Lin Xian suffer. Moreover, the few bodyguard from the student union had escaped with serious injuries. Needless to say, it must have been Wang Kai who did it. Who would dare to provoke such a powerful bodyguard? Even the principal would not care, let alone the dean. Damn it! Lin Xian gritted her teeth in anger. Her teeth were chattering nonstop, especially when she saw Wang Kai and the others acting as if they could do anything to her. She was even more furious. In the end, she fell to the ground and started crying and begging. My husband, please let me go. I really don't want to hire you anymore, okay? What's wrong with Lin Xian? Why is she crying so miserably? Since when did she have a husband? This must be a couple fighting. She kept calling him her husband and begging him to let her go. Sigh, my heart is broken. Many students who passed by shook their heads and sighed. They were pointing and gossiping. Only now did Lin Xian realize what was going on. My husband, could this be? You bastard. You tricked me. Lin Xian stood up angrily, grabbed Wang Kai by the collar, and shook him. Previously, Wang Kai's combat power was too strong. Moreover, he was also very overbearing. Therefore, he didn't even notice how she addressed him by his name. Now that the other students had explained it to her, how could Lin Xian not understand? That's not scheming. It's love and care. At night, I'll tell you ghost stories and help you sleep. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled playfully. Ghost story? Why is it a ghost story? Why? Ah. Lin Xin grabbed her long hair and screamed madly as she ran. However, no matter where she went, Wang Kai was still lingering around. She had been following him closely, neither hurriedly nor slowly. You can F***ck me. Take my first time. I don't want to see you again. In the end, Lin Xin could not take it anymore. She took Wang Kai to the infirmary. He sat on the bed and took off his coat. How could you do this? Wang Kai touched his nose and looked at her in shock. He did not expect that this young lady would be forced to this extent by him. She was actually going to give herself to him? What else can I do? I can't stand you anymore. Aren't you just interested in my body? Hurry up and F***ck me. Do it, F***ck me hard. Once you're comfortable and satisfied, please leave immediately. I'm begging you. At the end of her sentence, Lin Xin lay on the bed and cried loudly. She couldn't get rid of this kind of person and couldn't beat him. He even wanted to torture her all day and all night. There was really no solution. He was like a ghost that lingered around her like a ghost. That won't do. I'm not a casual person. For me, things like F***ck should be done with the person I love. Moreover, I'm not interested in you at all. You can't force me to F***ck you, right? You even want me to F***ck you hard. Seriously, are you really a lady from a big family? How could you say such things? Wang Kai frowned and shook his head, pretending to be righteous. F***ck. When she heard this, Lin Xin could not help but curse. Now, she was the one begging him to F***ck her. He was obviously a pervert. Why was he pretending to be righteous? If you don't F***ck me, you won't touch me at night, right? Lin Xin frowned and said helplessly. Yes, logically speaking, yes. Wang Kai nodded lightly and did not deny it. All right, then everything I said just now is invalid. Let's go to class. Lin Xion's face was cold. She got up, put on her clothes, and left the infirmary. She thought that she was waiting for Wang Kai to lose his self-control. When he wanted to do something to her, she would just give him her body. After getting it, he would leave, right? He would not bother her anymore, right? Even if it was still annoying, it wouldn't be in such a clingy way, right? What is this girl up to? Wang Kai followed behind and touched his nose. He could not help but be curious. Swimming class. Although it was called a swimming class, it was just a casual class for fun. And this was a girls' school. Those who participated in the swimming class were naturally all girls. Moreover, all of them were dressed to the nines. Bikinis were everywhere and could be seen everywhere. Moreover, as the school's swimming coach, she was a rather beautiful middle-aged woman. Her figure was comparable to the student council president, Alice. They were not inferior at all. We can only watch from the sidelines. F***ck. It's good enough that we can watch. If it weren't for the bodyguards, would we be able to come here? I'm afraid that we would not even be allowed to enter the school gate. Yeah, the principal's combat power is 99. Other than Lu Laohe from the Wulong Bar, he is the most powerful. The bodyguards stood in a row beside the swimming pool. Their posture was quite intimidating. I haven't swum in a long time. Wang Kai stretched his body, wearing a pair of swimming trunks. He yawned and dove into the swimming pool. Senior Lin Xin, your bodyguard is here. Get him out quickly. How can we? He has a great body. Suddenly, at the end of the exclamation, all the female students were mesmerized by Wang Kai's body. His muscles were bulging. He was not the kind of big guy. His muscles were the most exquisite. Even Lin Xin could not help but take a few more glances. Inwardly, he felt a little surprised. As a strong person, they all like a perfect body. Very few want muscles. This bodyguard is not bad. Look at how wet he is. The swimming coach, namely Chiu Shui, pursed her red lips and licked her lips. Her beautiful eyes were shining as she looked at Wang Kai. Chapter 1337. I'm being looked down upon. Looking at Lin Xin, who turned around and walked out of the locker room, Lucille pouted and teared up. She wanted to give her some harsh words. But before she could say anything, she was taught a harsh lesson. She couldn't help but look down at her chest. She reached out and pinched it a few times. She really didn't feel anything. Airport. Damn it. Wong Kai likes flat. Lucille gritted her teeth and followed out, feeling wronged. On the big field, Wong Kai was bare-chested and wearing swimming trunks. Since it was also exercise, it didn't matter whether he changed his clothes or not. The female students who came to class were all blushing and secretly looking at him. If it weren't for Lin, Xin, and the three beauties of the student union president, they had been guarding Wong Kai. There would definitely be a lot of female students rushing over to talk to him. In Wong Kai's words, it would affect his ability to pick up girls. What the hell are you wearing? Isn't it nice to wear a bikini to PE class? It's cool and light, isn't it nice? Wong Kai frowned and looked at the red shorts and white short-sleeve sportswear that Lin, Xin, and the others were wearing. He immediately curled his lips in dissatisfaction, even though they weren't wearing a bra under their sportswear. It made their breasts bulge from time to time. But compared to the bikini, it was nothing. There was no intention of increasing one's desire at all. What kind of PE class is wearing a bikini? Whose bodyguard are you? Why are you standing here in swimming trunks? Go stand at the edge of the field. Before Lin, Xin, and the others could respond, a rather cold and indifferent voice sounded. An older beauty who was also wearing red sportswear pants and white sportswear slowly walked over. There was also a whistle hanging around her neck. Now, she was biting it in her mouth and blowing it in front of the female students. Everyone stand properly and get ready for class. Why are you still here? Seeing that Wong Kai didn't have any intention of leaving, the PE teacher immediately frowned. He's my man, you don't have to care. The student union president, Alice, said lightly. Whoosh. After hearing this, the physical education teacher's eyes lost focus for a moment. He nodded his head like a walking corpse and recovered from his stupor. However, by the time she had recovered, she had already recovered. He no longer paid attention to Wong Kai. It was as if Wong Kai was a female classmate. This girl has taken in quite a few slaves. Luckily, I was there early. Otherwise, if Lin, Xin had dripped my blood into her token, I would have been done for. Wong Kai rubbed his nose and thought helplessly. First, run one lap around the field. After warming up, we'll compete in the basketball court. Under the PE teacher's orders, the female students started running around the field. What's the use of changing it to physical education? Alice frowned and asked as she ran. Temptation is useless. It's better to use your ability to prove that you are an outstanding student president. Han Yu said coldly. Not bad. Make Wong Kai appreciate your ability and make him fall for you. The silver-haired Lucille blinked and said, Make him fall for me? Appreciate my ability in physical education? Hearing this, Alice's brows relaxed. She nodded lightly and said, No strength is allowed in any of the school's classes. It's all based on the abilities of ordinary people. With my ability, no one will be my opponent in physical education. Lin Xin is also versatile, whether it's in learning or physical education. However, President, don't worry. Lucille and I will help you. Han Yu said coldly. When the time comes, we will wet Lin Xion's pants and embarrass her in front of Wong Kai. Lucille covered her mouth and laughed. They must be up to no good. On the other side, Lin Xion, who was running, saw Alice and the other two running together and whispering to each other from time to time. She immediately became alert. They want to take away Wong Kai. Then, they will definitely do something to Wong Kai. They will change the class to physical education and a basketball competition. How can they take away Wong Kai? Thinking about it, Lin Xin frowned and became more and more confused. No one fell down. Also, there are no female students' pants that will fall down as they run. There isn't even a scene of sweat soaking through the sports shirt. Wong Kai stood at the side and looked at the female students who were about to finish a lap. He couldn't help but sigh in disappointment. He originally thought that Alice and the others would try to tempt him. After all this time, it was just a normal run. There was no other soul-stirring thing that happened. Let's split up. The female students gathered on the basketball court. The physical education teacher whistled and waved his hand to split up the teams. Wait, I want to fight Lin Xian one-on-one. Suddenly, Alice walked up and looked at Lin Xian arrogantly. Her long blonde hair and her arrogant posture. It was the charming demeanor of a noble lady. Fight me one-on-one? What do you mean? Lin Xian frowned and looked at her with disdain. She thought that she was omnipotent in physical education, but someone dared to fight her one-on-one? Even if the student union president's academic and physical education skills were not bad in the school, they were not as good as her, right? Otherwise, why would others call her a goddess and the prettiest girl in the school? It's simple. We'll each be on the offense and defense side. Each time, 10 minutes. Whoever scores the most goals wins. Alice took the basketball and casually tossed it to Lin Xian. I'm the student union president. I'll let you be on the offense first. You may begin. Bang! Lin Xian blinked her beautiful eyes and took the basketball. She looked at Wang Kai and gritted her teeth. If it wasn't for the fact that I don't want you to get your way, I wouldn't want to compete with you because of him. Cut the crap. If you don't want to, just give up and let the student union have him. Alice snorted with disdain. Dream on. Lin Xian pursed her red lips and stepped forward. She patted the basketball and said coldly, We may begin now. Are you ready? I'm ready. You may. Poof. Before Alice could finish speaking, Lin Xian jumped from half the court to the top of the basket. With a light pat, the basketball went in. This, you used your strength? That's against the rules. Alice's red lips parted in shock. How could such a jump be possible without using her strength? I didn't use my strength. You're too weak. This is nothing to me. Lin Xian gently landed on the ground and covered her face with a smile. Damn it. When Alice saw this, she clenched her teeth and was extremely angry. She couldn't help but look at Hanyu and Lucille. Chapter 1338. Okay. Seeing this, Hanyu and Lucille immediately made a hand gesture. Seeing them like this, Alice temporarily calmed down. She couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. She originally thought that her sports ability was stronger than Lin Xian's. But after the competition, she clearly understood. Lin Xian was a monster when she didn't use her strength. It was not the strength that a normal human, a normal woman, should have. Jumping from half the court for a dunk, a normal person, and a normal woman, who could do it? Even a professional basketball player wouldn't have this ability, right? One had to know that Lin Xian didn't need to run. She could jump on the spot to achieve such an impact. Shall we continue? Lin Xian patted the basketball, casually stroked her hair, and then jumped again. With a bang, the basketball went into the basket again. Such a situation caused many female students to scream incessantly. Alice, on the other hand, was biting her red lips tightly. She was inwardly furious. This little girl's physical fitness is quite strong. If it were me, without using the power of cultivation, I would definitely be stronger than her. But she's a girl. Wang Kai furrowed his brows and thought to himself in surprise. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've gained 100 experience and bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully increasing combat strength by 10 points. Bang, 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 bang. Then, the sound of a dunk was heard. In less than 2 minutes, she had already scored 18 goals. Alice couldn't stop the whole time. She didn't even know how to move. Even if she wanted to jump, she wanted to stop Lin Xian's dunk. It would be resolved by her jumping higher. Are you not ready yet? Alice, who was extremely annoyed, could only purse her red lips and anxiously send a voice transmission. If he allowed her to continue being so smug and arrogant, he would lose a lot of face. At that time, she would be able to score under Lin Xian's defense. Even Alice didn't have the confidence. I'm ready. She'll suffer later, hee. Lucille made an okay gesture and secretly sent a voice transmission laughing. As for Hanyu, she had already disappeared. Alice was slightly relieved and said proudly, If you can score another goal, it'll be my loss. Is the student union president angry? The guild leader is getting serious? Many of the female students shouted excitedly when they heard this. Isn't this cheating? Wang Kai furrowed his brows and glanced around. Suddenly, he discovered that under the stadium, Hanyu was waiting inside with a cold smile. His hands were aimed at the ground where Lin Xin was standing. Oof, then you'll lose. Ah, bang! Before Lin Xin could finish her sentence, she felt her feet slip and she fell face first onto the ground. The basketball was in Alice's hands. Go on. Alice shrugged in disdain and threw the basketball back to her with a smile. He had no intention of taking the opportunity to shoot. The rules were simple. If the defensive team managed to snatch the basketball, they could score by shooting the ball. But Alice didn't do that. Such a scene caused many female students to be in disbelief. Could it be that Lin Xin was frightened by the aura of the student union president? Or had she exhausted her physical strength and reached her limit? You're cheating. Lin Xin got up, gritted her teeth, and scolded in a delicate voice. Her beautiful eyes glanced coldly at the ground. Under the penetration of her power, she didn't discover Hanyu's existence. There was still a gap between the combat strength of the two. The other students were even more unable to discover Hanyu, who was hiding under the ground. I'm cheating? Ha ha. You're exhausted and can't score. Now that you've made a fool of yourself, you dare to say that I'm cheating? Alice covered her face and sneered in disdain. She didn't have the slightest intention of paying attention to her. Coach, come and check. Someone must be playing tricks underground. Lin Xin frowned. After looking around, she said coldly, Hanyu is no longer here. I suspect that she's playing tricks underground now. There's no problem. The sports coach walked forward and examined him carefully. Then he stood up and shook his head. You. Lin Xin frowned even more. How could she not know that the coach and Alice were in cahoots? Trash. Idiot. Bullsh asterisk T. To think that you're the student union president. Lin Xin cursed in anger. Alice's face turned red when she heard this. She forced herself to remain calm. Can't you even start now? If you can't, why don't I attack? Alice covered her face and couldn't help but say with a stiff face. After being exposed by Lin Xin and being reprimanded like this, she didn't feel good in her heart. However, in order to get Wang Kai, Alice endured all of it. So be it. Let's see how many goals you can score. Trash. Lin Xin pursed her red lips and threw the basketball at her. Then he stood on the defensive side. You can start. President, don't worry about attacking. Lucille secretly transmitted her voice. All right. Alice nodded lightly and immediately dribbled the ball and turned around. Lin Xin, who was about to step forward to stop her, took a step forward and once again smashed into the ground. When the female students saw this, they couldn't help but look at each other. They all felt that it was very strange. It seems that Lin Xion's physical strength has reached its limit. She's not that perfect. Hearing everyone's discussion, Lin Xion was so angry that her face turned red, especially when she saw Alice shoot the ball. She was even more furious. Bang, 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 bang. Then, the situation was extremely obvious. Every time Lin Xion wanted to stop or even dodge the cold moon below, but every time, she would be accurately attacked. Every time, she fell to the ground. In the end, she scored 17 goals. It had already made Lin Xion so angry that her eyes were red and teary. If Alice was really powerful and stronger than her, it wouldn't matter if she lost to her. But she was secretly schemed against by others, which led to her failure. The other students didn't know the actual situation at all. What they said made Lin Xion even angrier. Even the sports coach was on Alice's side. That's enough. It's the last goal. You guys have a fair competition. Wang Kai shrugged and secretly transmitted his voice to Alice. Alice's delicate body trembled when she heard this. She couldn't help but turn to look at Wang Kai. Seeing his emotionless face, her heart skipped a beat for no reason. Hanyu, come out. Wang Kai found out. Alice hurriedly transmitted her voice. If she waited for Wang Kai to make a move, not only would she be embarrassed, but she might also be taught a lesson by Wang Kai. The last goal. At least it will be a tie. Alice bit her red lips and secretly swore. Hanyu, come to the small forest tonight. There are some things that I need to understand and discuss with you. Wang Kai shrugged and looked at Han Yu, who had returned. He secretly transmitted his voice. Chapter 1339. Go to the grove, get to know, and explore? Hearing this, Han Yu's pretty face froze. Then she seemed to have thought of something. Her pretty face couldn't help but blush. You want to have sex with me secretly? In a place like the grove, many female students would come for each other there. And the dean, that old pervert, would also secretly have sex with some female students there. In the end, Han Yu was too embarrassed to continue. However, Wang Kai, who heard this, was very surprised. In his mind, he couldn't help but think of the dean. He was the only male teacher in the whole school, wasn't he? But he didn't expect that he had done such things behind her back. You really couldn't judge a book by its cover. Are you convinced now? Lin Xian jumped and hit Alice's basketball to the side. 17-18. Of course, Lin Xian won. You just won one ball, humph. Alice snorted disdainfully and pretended to be arrogant as she turned around and left. Her plan failed again, and it was because she cheated again. It had already made Alice feel a little embarrassed, even if others didn't know the actual situation. But Wang Kai and Lin Xian knew very well. In the locker room, Wang Kai naturally followed Lin Xian and entered together. Lin Xian didn't have any intention of stopping them. She allowed Wang Kai to watch her change her clothes. Moreover, she was in a completely naked state. She even deliberately slowed down her movements to let Wang Kai see. She made all kinds of seductive poses. However, Wang Kai just kept smacking his lips and praising her. But he didn't have any intention of pouncing on her. Originally, he wanted to let Wang Kai have his way and make use of him to teach Alice a lesson. Then, when he got tired of it, he could fire Wang Kai. However, the result made Lin Xian speechless. Lin Xian, who was neatly dressed, blinked her beautiful eyes and looked at Wang Kai suspiciously. She asked in confusion, "Are you a eunuch? People from other universes should have dynasties or something, right? Were you a little eunuch in the palace at that time? Did he go berserk from practicing martial arts to reach his current level?" Lin Xian was born in the second universe. As for the matters of other universes, he had only heard some old experts talk about them. However, she wasn't sure exactly what was going on. Dynasty, country, yes, I've experienced some. But what does that have to do with whether I'm a eunuch? Wang Kai frowned and looked at her with a rather displeased expression. That's your aesthetic point of view. Is there a problem? Lin Xian furrowed her brows, pursed her red lips, and asked, "My figure isn't good? Or is it because of my bad looks? Is there anything that doesn't satisfy you? Your figure is not bad, and your face is quite beautiful. I'm very satisfied with everything." Wang Kai gently nodded and replied honestly, "Then why didn't you pounce on me earlier? Seeing such a beautiful girl like me change clothes, and not only that, I'm not wearing anything. Don't you feel your heart throb at all?" Lin Xian furrowed her brows even tighter. She felt that Wang Kai was a little abnormal. Logically speaking, he shouldn't have pounced on her directly. Shouldn't he have enjoyed her thoroughly? Why didn't Wang Kai do that? After all this time, you're wondering about this? It's very simple. I don't want to eat you now. Well, I want to eat you. You definitely won't be able to run away. Even if you cry and scream, you won't be able to escape. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled casually. Then when exactly do you want to eat me? Also, do you think that my breasts aren't as big as Alice's or the swimming coach's, so your desire isn't very strong? Lin Xian blinked her beautiful eyes and glared at him with slight anger. As a woman, as the goddess of the academy, as the #1 campus belle, when she was changing clothes, a man was watching from the side. In the end, he didn't do anything. This made Lin Xian feel inexplicably dissatisfied. If we're talking about this, it's indeed not as big as theirs. However, yours is just right, enough to play with. Overall, it's not bad. Wang Kai rubbed his nose and looked at her with a smile. Humph. Lin Xian's pretty face was slightly red. She pushed open the door and was about to leave. However, she saw Alice, Lucille, and Han Yu standing beside the door. Obviously, they had been eavesdropping just now. Aren't the three of you very thirsty? Why don't you go in and serve him now? I like to see if he'll take advantage of you. Lin Xen pursed her red lips and sneered disdainfully. She secretly thought that even when she was changing clothes and being watched by Wang Kai, she still couldn't be taken over by him in the end. No matter how tempting these three were, it was useless, right? Are you sure? Alice blinked her beautiful eyes and said coldly. Hanyu and Lucille were also interested. They were originally thinking that they wouldn't have a chance to take down Wang Kai. Lin Xin actually took the initiative to bring it up. Of course bastard. What are you doing? Lin Xin, who was halfway through her sentence, suddenly saw Wang Kai taking off his clothes in the changing room. Moreover, he was only left with a pair of pants. I'm waiting to have sex with them. Wang Kai frowned and said rather casually. You, then why didn't you touch me just now? Lin Xin was so angry that her pretty face turned ashen. As a woman, her self-esteem had been completely defeated. Could it be that in Wang Kai's eyes, she was really inferior to Alice and the others? Get out of the way. Alice pursed her red lips, pushed Lin Xin away, and walked directly into the changing room. Lucille also looked at her provocatively and said disdainfully, What's wrong with my little one? What's wrong with the airport? I'm just more charming than you. I better not go in. President, you and Lucille can serve him. Hanyu blinked her beautiful eyes and said after thinking for a while, since she was going to meet Wang Kai in the small forest at night, then her chastity naturally had to be saved for the night. After all, being able to be alone with Wang Kai was much better than being together with him. I forbid it. Wang Kai, come out right now. Lin Xin was furious. She held the door of the changing room tightly and shouted at Wang Kai, who was inside. It's you who asked them to serve me, and it's also you who didn't want them to serve me. Why is it always up to you? Wang Kai touched his nose and rolled his eyes unhappily. Then, with a bang, he forced Lin Xin to take a few steps back. The door of the changing room was also tightly shut. That is my first time. Can you be gentler? Alice's pretty face was red. She, who was angry with Lin Xin, had calmed down now. It's also my first time. Also, my body is weak. You remember to be gentler. Don't hurt me. Lucille pursed her red lips and reminded him shyly in a low voice. Chapter 1340. This will definitely be done to death, right? Hanyu pursed her red lips. Her pretty face couldn't help but turn pale. She, who had always been outspoken, was also rather valiant at this moment. Alice and Lucille both frowned when they heard this, their delicate bodies trembling nonstop. Serving hundreds of thousands of people at the same time, was there any way to survive? If they had known this would happen, they wouldn't have come with Lin Xin. Your family's immediate superior is quite good at taking care of his subordinates. Lin Xin blinked her beautiful eyes and glanced at them with disdain. In vain, they wanted to take the opportunity to perform meritorious deeds. In the end, even they were going to lose their lives. Serve you, my ass. Alice was furious. She raised her slender, jade-like arm and pointed at the Chicken King and Tiger King, cursing on the spot. Lucille was not to be outdone. She said coldly, F***CKU, a bunch of trash from society. Even if I let a dog do it, I won't let you off so easily. I'd rather let a knife do it than let you off so easily. Hanyu held her long knife tightly, already planning to slit her throat. It's not bad to play with corpses, right? The Tiger King grinned and smiled sinisterly. When the crowd saw this, they all chimed in. It was obvious that they were deliberately scaring Alice and the other girls. You even want to play with corpses? Sure enough, Alice and the other two's pretty faces turned pale. For a moment, their minds buzzed. Just thinking about that kind of thing made them feel disgusted. Cut the crap. Go capture them. The Tiger King shrugged and ordered indifferently. Let's start with the eldest miss of the Lin family. Tiger King, as a thank you for coming to help me, I'll let you go first. The young man with a 5-colored chicken squatting on his shoulder stretched out his hand and gestured. Ha, that's just right. Then, when we capture the 2 beautiful girls, I'll let you go first. This way, it's very reasonable. The Tiger King clapped and laughed loudly. Then, he nodded to his subordinates. Soon, 2 strong men walked out from each side. Their combat strength was above 200. Do you understand your F***CK? Alice coldly reprimanded. He immediately turned around and ran away with Han Yu and Lucille. Even if they wanted to save Lin Xian, they did not have the strength to do so. Whether or not he could successfully escape was still unknown. Do you think you can escape? The 4 brawny men looked at each other, and then their figures disappeared at the same time. When he appeared again, he was already blocking Alice and the other 2. F***CKU. Bang! Bang bang. In an instant, Alice and the other 2 attacked. He lifted his long leg and kicked the crotch of the 3 strong men. With this kick, it could be said to be fatal. The 3 burly men bent over and cried out in pain. Their faces were pale. Do you think we can still succeed? The remaining brawny man immediately reacted. She turned her body sideways and stared at them warily. Out of the corner of his eyes, he looked at the other 3 brothers. They were in so much pain that they were convulsing. The corner of his mouth couldn't help but twitch fiercely. These 3 girls were simply too ruthless. Why can't I hit him anywhere? Why did it have to hit the weakest part of a human being? Wasn't this going to end the family's bloodline? Idiot. However, Alice and the other 2 scolded him disdainfully for the rest of his life. Along the way, he dashed away. As a result, the muscles on the brawny man's face twitched and the veins on his forehead bulged. He was already extremely angry. He had thought that they would join forces to attack him, or that he would directly suppress them. However, they chose to take the opportunity to escape. Let them go. If you dare to chase after them again, I will immediately kill myself here. At that time, you will have nothing to threaten my father with. Suddenly, Lin Xian pursed her red lips and threatened coldly. Naturally, she didn't say this to save Alice and the others. It was just that she was about to die and wanted to help them out. However, Lin Xian's words did not wait for Tiger King and Wang Kai's response. Alice and the other 2, who had run not far away, stopped. They looked at each other and felt a little angry. I don't want to be saved by her. I don't want to either. She's forcing us to go back. In the end, Lucille made a conclusion. They, who did not want to Lin Xian a favor, could only return the way they came. Are you all idiots? Lin Xian's beautiful eyes widened. She had never thought that the result of her wanting to help them out would be that they would all run back. Were they sheep in a tiger's den? The 4 of us can attack each other in pairs and destroy our bodies. Then they won't be able to succeed. In short, we would rather die than let you save us, Alice said rather disdainfully. Yes, I don't want to self-destruct. I can't kill myself. Lucille shook her head and said shyly, What are you waiting for? Hurry up and attack. If anything goes wrong, you'll all die. Tiger King roared sternly. Whoosh! Hearing this, the hundreds of thousands of people all looked solemn. Among them, those whose combat strength was close to 300 all attacked with all their strength. They did not want to give Lin Xian and the others any chance to kill each other. Die, all of you! Whoosh! Suddenly, the old butler roared loudly. His figure flashed and directly arrived at the center of the hundreds of thousands of people. Then his body suddenly swelled up. They could only hear the endless rumbling sounds. More than half of the hundreds of thousands of people were killed in the explosion. Of the remaining 50 to 60,000 people, all of them were injured. However, Tiger King and Chicken King were not injured at all. They were still standing there unscathed. A bunch of trash. Tiger King snorted disdainfully. He waved his hand and grabbed the head of the Lin family. Then he stared coldly at Lin Xian and said in a deep voice, Get over here now. And you, if you don't get over here now, your families will be wiped out. A young man with a 5-colored chicken on his shoulder ordered coldly. Hearing this, Lin Xian, Alice, and the other 2 women's faces turned pale, especially Alice and the others. They did not care so much in the heat of the moment. Now that they were threatened with their families, they really could not handle it. Oh, what are you doing here? Playing a game? Using human bodies as bombs? Count me in, okay? The void was torn open, and Wang Kai slowly walked out from it. Wang Kai. Seeing this, Lin Xin and the other girls were pleasantly surprised. Tiger King, it's him. He is the husband of the two beauties who beat up Miss Wonderful Slap. Before Li could finish speaking, Tiger King turned his hand and slapped him, causing him to fall to the ground. He said disdainfully, "What a F*** piece of trash. You can't even speak properly. Can you hold it in?" Cough, cough. Tiger King. Li's brother looked pale. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and grimaced in pain. Chapter 1341. Brat, are you that awesome? The Tiger King glared at Wang Kai fiercely. The young man with the five-colored chicken on his shoulder also turned to look at him. Not really. Any cultivation method or martial technique is self-taught. It's not ruthless. With a wave of my hand, I can destroy thousands of lives. Just like them. Wang Kai suddenly waved his hand. Under the flickering golden light. As for the remaining 50 to 60,000 people, their bodies were all blown apart. They died on the spot. Half of them were destroyed by the old butler's self-destruction. The remaining half was destroyed by Wang Kai's slap. The two heavenly kings who had originally come in an aggressive manner. They became generals without an army. Lily lay on the ground, looking at the blood and flesh on the ground. He was so scared that his face turned pale. He didn't expect Wang Kai to be so strong. If he had known, he would have stayed in Wulong City with his sister, Li Xiaohua. Why did he have to go to Gaolang City? Now, how is he going to end this? Even the lady boss, who was called Wonderful, did not survive. The Tiger King and the Chicken King didn't want to save her at all, but he was lucky enough to survive. However, what awaited them was something even more terrifying than death, right? Your sister's ventriloquism is very good, and her body is very soft. In short, it makes me very comfortable, so I didn't kill you just now. Scram, Wang Kai said casually with his hands behind his back. Hearing this, Li's face stiffened and his eyes widened. His sister's ventriloquism is very good. Her body is very soft. Did his sister really follow Wang Kai's wishes in order to save him? You just came here after King a woman? Alice asked in surprise. You still have the mood to do this kind of thing? Han Yu and Lucille had faces full of disbelief. Wang Kai, I don't care what you did. I hope you can help me kill them. When the time comes, I will agree to any request you have. I promise you unconditionally. Even if you CK me for the rest of my life, I am willing. Lin Xin bit her red lips and said softly. His expression was firm, and it was obvious that he was serious. You're quite good at making conditions. You even said that you'd agree to my conditions unconditionally. Doesn't that mean that I'd have to help you kill these two heavenly kings of death before I can do anything to you? Wang Kai rubbed his nose and looked at her speechlessly. He couldn't help but say, however, I really like this condition where I can CK you until you die. Then kill them. Lin Xin pursed her red lips and said, all right, let's kill the Chicken King first. You'll be the one, right? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled playfully. His gaze was fixed on the young man. With a flip of his hand, he sent a palm strike through the air. A loud bang was heard. That young man's body had already been blasted to smithereens. He died on the spot. Oh, really? So weak. Seeing this, Wang Kai was startled. He couldn't help but secretly communicate with the system and ask, what's the combat power of the dead brat? Host, his battle power is 300. He is not the Chicken King. Not the Chicken King? Hearing this, Wang Kai couldn't help but narrow his eyes. In order to deal with the two heavenly kings of death, he had bragged a lot before coming here. Moreover, he had bragged about it while being served by Li Xiaohua. His current combat power had already reached 335 points. It would be too easy to kill the two heavenly kings of death. But he had hit the wrong one. The dead one was not the Chicken King. I'm here. Are you blind? Why does everyone think that the Real Chicken King is that useless brat? The colorful chicken said coldly. It flapped its wings and flew up. You're the Chicken King? Wang Kai was stunned when he saw it. At first, he thought that it was just a pet. He didn't expect that this was the Real chicken. The Real Chicken King. Damn, it can't be. Tiger King patted his head in disbelief. He didn't know that the Real Chicken King was actually a chicken. Brat, your combat power should be over 300. Compared to us, you're stronger. How about this? Since my blind underlings are all dead, I'll follow you. The multicolored Chicken King flapped its wings and said wisely, Cough, cough. I have the same intention. Tiger King immediately raised his hand to show his agreement. He couldn't defeat such a strong person. His underlings were all killed again. If the stalemate continued, death would be the only way out. I'm sorry, I don't accept heavenly kings of death here. You'd better rest in peace. Wang Kai shrugged. As he spoke, he had already turned his hand and slapped out. Two loud bangs were heard. Tiger King and Chicken King were hit so hard that their eyes rolled back. They lay on the ground, breathless. They couldn't resist at all. Such a scene caused Alice and the other girls to be extremely shocked. They didn't expect Wang Kai's combat power to be so strong, especially Lin Xian. Especially Lin Xian, who is so strong. Why did he want to chase her away? Fortunately, Wang Kai was thick-skinned and didn't get chased away. Otherwise, why would he stand up and help them now? Not only would the Lin family be destroyed, but they would also die. How much is the Lin family's total assets? Wang Kai put his hands behind his back and looked at the head of the Lin family indifferently. The head of the Lin family trembled. He knew very well that the young man in front of him was the one who came to the Lin family to apply for a bodyguard position. He even stole the Lin family's car. He wanted to find him and teach him a lesson. How could he dare to think that way now? I don't want too much. Just give me 500 and 200 million. Wang Kai shrugged and said casually, 500 million? Are you sure? The head of the Lin family asked in a trembling voice. Yes, I'm sure. If it's too much, I can reduce it a little. I'll take 400 million. No, it's not too much. It's just right. 500 million it is. Before Wang Kai could finish, the head of the Lin family interrupted. Moreover, he seemed to be very happy. He didn't even hesitate to give Wang Kai an extra 100 million. He didn't even accept the 400 million that Wang Kai had offered. Did I ask for too little? Wang Kai touched his nose and looked at the head of the Lin family in shock. The total assets of the Lin family are as high as 90 billion. You want 500 million. Don't you know how little is too little? Lin Xian pursed her red lips and couldn't help but laugh. As the eldest daughter of the Lin family, she knew her family's background very well. 90 billion? I want 500 million. Wang Kai's face darkened. He didn't expect the Lin family to be so powerful. No wonder the two heavenly kings came personally. Do you want all of it? Marry me, and the Lin family will be yours. Lin Xian blinked her beautiful eyes and said seriously, This book will end next month. The new book, The Strongest Emperor, has 650,000 words. It will reach 1,000,000 words next month. You are welcome to read it. Chapter 1342. Marry you? 90 billion and all of it will be mine? Are you saying that you want me to be a live-in son-in-law? Marry into the Lin family? Wang Kai rubbed his chin and looked at Lin Xian in surprise. Lin Xian nodded her head seriously and said, That's right. As long as you are willing to marry me, all of the Lin family's assets will be yours. Father, do you agree? Then she looked at the head of the Lin family. The head of the Lin family, who had a dark expression, immediately put on a forced smile and nodded his head. Yes, of course I agree. Wang Kai's combat power was so strong. Lin Xian had no choice but to agree. What if she angered Wang Kai? At that time, he wouldn't even have 90 billion left, let alone 1 or 2 coins. She might even lose her life. It was not worth it. Are you trying to bribe Wang Kai with money? You are such a despicable woman. To think that we came back to live and die with you. Alice's face was dark. She stared at Lin Xian in disdain and reprimanded her. That's right. I think that a powerful person like Wang Kai will not agree to your request. It is embarrassing for a man to marry into the family. Lucille agreed. I don't think that Wang Kai will agree either. If he agrees, I am willing to give him all of the family's assets, Han Yu said coldly. Me too. At this point, Alice and Lucille started to panic. They quickly raised their hands to express their stance. Who wouldn't want to pull such a powerful Wong Kai into their family? He would be able to leave Wulong City and gain a foothold in Gawang City. Even the two heavenly kings were not Wong Kai's match. One could imagine how powerful he was. The combined wealth of your two families is not as much as the Lin family. What are you fighting for? Are you qualified? Humph. Lin Xin scoffed in disdain. Then, she pursed her red lips and looked at Wong Kai seriously. In a gentle voice, she said, "If you feel embarrassed, then don't marry into the Lin family. I will marry you with all of the Lin family's assets as my dowry." Obviously, Lin Xin was also afraid that Wong Kai would be angry. He could only use such gentleness, and it was not considered a loss. As long as he succeeded in getting involved with Wong Kai, even if he flirted with other women, it didn't matter. She only needed to wear the hat of Wong Kai's wife to get his protection. The Lin family would no longer be in danger, and no one would dare to provoke the Lin family. The Lin family would also rise in status because of this. Sooner or later, she would be able to get back all the 90 billion yuan that was her dowry, and she would even be able to double it. Needless to say, Lin Xin did not casually propose to marry Wong Kai. Evidently, she had thought too much. So much so that even an old fox like the Lin family's clan head was unable to react quickly enough. "Then you should take us in too." Alice blinked her beautiful eyes and stared at Wong Kai seriously. She pursed her lips and said, "Although our family's wealth is not as much as the Lin family's, it is still quite a lot. Moreover, the three of us are not bad-looking. Yes, just now, more than 100,000 people wanted to take turns to F***CKS. This proves that our charm is not small." Lucille, who had short silver hair, said shyly in a low voice, "It's reasonable. If you didn't come just now, we would definitely be stabbed to death by more than 100,000 people taking turns." Hanyu nodded and said very valiantly. Wong Kai was speechless. He really had to hand it to them. They could even blush and say such things without skipping a beat. There was really no one else like them. "I need to think about this matter. A mere 90 billion is not enough for me. No matter how much 2 coins it is useless to me. As long as I want it, I can easily get an endless amount of 2 coins. Wong Kai put his hands behind his back and said with a proud expression, "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100 experience and bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully increasing combat strength by 10 points. Host, Wong Kai title, Fighting Slag Realm, Supreme Combat Strength, 345 bragging points, 3,600 experience, 0 out of 100, then you should think about it as soon as possible. I will not go to the academy in the near future." Lin Xin nodded and then followed the Lin family head back to the Lin family mansion. Hundreds of people in the Lin family were all dead. Now, only the 2 of them were left. Naturally, there were a lot of things to deal with. Everyone had a family, and they all had to send compensation to them. As for those who were killed by Wong Kai, they were courting death. No one would care about them. "Let's go to the Love Hotel opened by my family." "Okay." Alice blinked her beautiful eyes and hugged Wong Kai's arm and rubbed against it. "I will go too." Lucille pulled the corner of Wong Kai's clothes, pursed her red lips, and said shyly, "I won't go." Hanyu gritted her teeth and thought to herself. She still had to go to the small forest to see Wong Kai at night. How could she give it to him now? It was even more impossible for her to be with other women and let Wong Kai occupy her body. "How about this? I will give you a mission. Whoever does well, I will sleep with her. How about it? If you do well, then I will take you all. I am very generous." Wong Kai narrowed his eyes and said playfully, "What mission?" The 3 women looked at each other. Since they had decided to get Wong Kai, naturally, they would not choose to retreat. Things like the last time where they retreated when they were about to get serious would not happen again. This time, they had clearly made up their minds. They were determined to get Wong Kai in a bed. "Take these 3 flyers and take a look. This bar is very special. I want to arrange for you to check it out." Help me take a look and see what the main marketing is. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and flipped his hand to take out 3 flyers. It was the Wulong Bar, hiring waiters, and even pole dancing, yoga live performances, and so on. I know yoga. I know pole dancing. I know. I will be a waiter. Following Alice and Lucille, they spoke one after another. When it was Han Yu's turn, she could only choose to be a waiter with a blushing face. She had never learned pole dancing or yoga before. According to the recruitment information, she could only choose the most ordinary waiter. Well, then you should prepare to apply for the job. Successfully applying for the job is the first task. After successfully infiltrating the bar, find out who the bar staff are. That's the second and most difficult task. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and looked at them playfully. Then, he waved his hand and said, "Work hard, beautiful girls." Buzz. As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Kai's figure disappeared. This caused Alice, Lucille, and Han Yu to look at each other and nod in unison. It seems that there are still 2 days before the application. Let's go back and prepare. Alice blinked her beautiful eyes and said, "All right." Lucille and Han Yu nodded in agreement and turned to leave. Chapter 1343. Wulong Bar. Wang Kai's figure slowly appeared. Lu Laohe and the others, who had been waiting for a long time, immediately went up to him. "Boss, how is it? What happened to the 2 kings? Did you kill them? Where's my brother?" Wang Kai waved his hand and stopped them from continuing to ask. He said faintly, "The 2 kings of death-seeking and their subordinates are completely dead. As for Little Blossom, your younger brother, he successfully survived. You should have gone home now. Go back and take a look." "Ah, yes, thank you, boss." "Oh, no, thank you, Prince Charming." Li Xiaohua was pleasantly surprised and thanked him repeatedly. She even stepped forward and kissed Wang Kai. "Oomph, what are you so proud of? Didn't you moan the most when you were F***ed?" Wen Xian snorted disdainfully. However, after thinking about the scene where she had no choice but to be F***ed by Wang Kai in order to beg him, Wen Xian was so embarrassed that she wanted to crawl into a hole, especially when Wang Kai forced her into various positions. Now that she thought about it, she felt embarrassed. "Wen Xian, I'm a little stressed. Come, let's go to the private room and have a good time." Wang Kai narrowed his eyes, waved his hand, and walked into the private room with Wen Xian in his arms. Soon the most beautiful music sounded from inside. Boss is in such a good mood," Lu Laohe said with admiration. "His body is also very good. How long has it been? Again? He's so energetic. I'm so envious." Scarface Dragon shook his head and said with emotion. He thought that it was because he had done too much. Now, he couldn't do it anymore. In almost a few minutes, the battle was over. If he wanted to continue fighting, he would have to wait half a day or a day before he had the strength and mood. Sometimes, he couldn't even have a good time once a month. The lady boss hasn't been released by the boss yet. I don't know what will happen when she comes out and finds out that the boss F***ed Li Xiaohua and Wen Xian. Speaking of this, the yellow-haired Wang Dachui grinned. The others also looked at each other when they heard this. The so-called lady boss was naturally Yin Yin. Everyone could tell that the person Wang Kai liked was her. It was just that he hadn't had the chance to eat it yet. Let's go and make some preparations. 2 days later, let's see what kind of goods we have and apply for the job. We can only officially open after we have confirmed the staff. Laohe Lu said calmly. Yes, that's right. When the time comes, there might be experts from other cities coming over. Scarface Dragon squinted his eyes and grinned coldly. They knew very well that the people from other cities must have extremely high combat power. At that time, bumps and bruises would be unavoidable. Using Wang Kai's fighting prowess, Wulong Bar became famous. This would attract more people to Wulong City. In the long run, Wulong City might not be the last city. Instead, it naturally became the strongest city among the 18 cities. 2 days later, Wulong Bar. There were many people standing in front of the door. Regardless of whether they were male or female, they were all young. Moreover, the man was handsome and the woman was beautiful. There were all kinds of them. For example, Lolita, Big Sister, Natural Airhead, Poisonous Tongue, etc. There were only those that you could not think of, but those that you could not name. One person can go in at a time. The time limit is 5 minutes. During the interview, the boss will be in another room, watching you with a monitor. Only those who are recognized and appreciated by the boss will be hired. Young master, no matter what profession, the salary will be no less than $1,200,000 per month. Of course, different professions have different salaries. It will not be less than $1,200,000 per month, but how much you can get depends on your performance. After Scarface Dragon finished speaking, he opened the door of the bar. He casually glanced around and pointed at the pure girl at the front of the line. He nodded and said, "You go in first. Seize the opportunity. After you are recognized by the boss, I will definitely favor you. Salary is not a problem. Go in." Under Scarface Dragon's hint, the pure girl nodded and smiled. She was wearing a white shirt and jeans. Although she was dressed plainly, she looked very clean. "Damn it. After I am recognized by the boss, you'll favor me? F***CK. If I can be recognized by the boss, what about you, Scarface Dragon?" The pure girl's face was full of smiles, but her heart was full of disdain. If Scarface Dragon knew that she was cursing him in her heart, who knew what he would think of this? The key point was that what she said made sense. The boss's appreciation and the boss's appreciation were not the same concept. Inside a closed private room, there was a camera in every corner. However, the items placed in the private room caused the pure youth to be stunned. A carousel? An XX chair? There was even a hanging rope? What was the meaning of this? The pure girl was dumbfounded. She sat on the sofa and waved her jade-like hand. She felt that she was holding something familiar. She picked it up and looked at it. Suddenly, she exclaimed and threw it to the side. It was an electric thing. "Oh my God, what is this bar applying for? Are they applying for a lady?" The pure girl screamed in her heart. She could not help but raise her head and look at the camera. She gritted her teeth and began to take off her clothes. The boss in the dark, "Look, you can look as you wish." At the same time, Wang Kai, who was in the monitoring room, he was hugging Wen Xian, demanding each other. After seeing this scene on the display screen, Lin Fan's expression changed. Wang Kai's hormones were stimulated even more. "This one, she doesn't pass him." Wen Xian blushed and looked at the monitor. The girl was taking off her clothes. She shook her head and denied it disdainfully. "Did you hear that? Scarface Dragon, she doesn't pass." Wang Kai took the walkie-talkie and said casually, "This kind of woman who took off her clothes to win the boss's favor." Wang Kai was not interested at all. Who knew how many men she had slept with? "Oh, okay." Scarface Dragon's face darkened, and he nodded in agreement. Beside him, Lu Laohe patted him on the shoulder and comforted him. "Don't be unhappy. How can a girl be pure nowadays? That one just now was faking it. I've told you what she said in her heart. It's up to you now." Obviously, Scarface Dragon had learned from Lu Laohe what the pure girl was thinking and cursing Scarface Dragon before she went in. There was nothing the system could not do. Bang! The door of the private room was opened. The pure girl, who was changing into her sexy clothes, was immediately shocked. But soon, she pretended to be shy and screamed loudly. It was as if she had not been seen by other men. "Stop pretending. Now kneel on the ground and let me have some fun. Otherwise, you'll have to go out lying down," Scarface Dragon said coldly. His expression was indescribably fierce. As he spoke, he began to unbuckle his belt. Chapter 1344. "Boss, the 3 female students you mentioned before are here." Scarface Dragon's voice came from outside the monitoring room. It was not difficult to hear from his voice. He was very comfortable now. It could be seen that he had a good time with the pure girl just now. He was very satisfied. "Well, let them go in together," Wang Kai responded casually. Looking at Wen Xian, who was so tired that she had fainted, he put on her clothes neatly and kept her in the system. Then, he looked at the monitor. When Alice, Lucille, and Han Yu entered the room, Tang Wulin's expression changed. Looking at the things in the room, they were so frightened that their faces changed. "Damn it, did we come to the wrong place? Is this really the Wulong Bar? Why does it feel like a brothel?" Alice and the other 2 girls looked at each other and sat on the sofa together. As for those sex toys, they only glanced at them and then looked away. "President, Why don't we leave? I feel that it's very dangerous. Lucille's pretty face was slightly pale as she said with some fear. Ah, President, look, the milk on the ground. That's milk and the clothes that were just taken off. God, could it be that all the girls who came here to apply for the job examination were done with them? Hanyu's pretty face suddenly changed. She held the long knife tightly and pointed to the ground. Naturally, they were able to recognize those marks. After all, who hadn't seen such things as sex toys? They were very clear about the information about these things. Especially the bra that the women took off and forgot to put on was still here. Moreover, there was white milk on it. Without thinking, they knew what had just happened here. Yes, something is wrong. Let's go. Alice pursed her red lips and stood up in fear. The three girls carefully walked to the door. Just as they were about to push the door open and escape, they found that the door was locked. They couldn't push it open at all. Even if they used force to open it, it wouldn't work. Seeing them like this, Wang Kai, who was in the monitoring room, couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth. He picked up a microphone and said calmly, "Hey, the three beauties inside, take off all your clothes. Then, put on the sexy clothes in the private room. This is the first task. Finish it quickly. If you don't complete it, 18 old people will come in together to discuss life and how to have children with you." No. When Alice and the other two girls heard this, they immediately turned pale with fright. Especially the voice that came in. It was strange and rather ear-piercing. It was impossible to tell whether they were male or female, let alone whether they were human or ghost. What should we do? Wang Kai has really screwed us over this time. Alice pursed her red lips, her delicate body trembling as she spoke. What else can we do? You can't really let 18 old men take turns, right? Lucille gritted her teeth and said with grievance. When she looked at Hanyu again, her beautiful eyes had already turned red. Right now, the three girls could be said to be miserable. After the first step, you still need to touch each other. After all of you have climaxed, you will be considered to have completed the bar's test and officially become the bar's employees. Hurry up and start. If it's too late, perhaps not only 18 old men, but also 36 strong men and 72 dogs will come in to serve you together. Following that, the strange voice rang out again. The three girls were so frightened that their eyes rolled back and they lay on the ground, unconscious. 18 old men were already disgusting enough. Another 36 brawny men appeared, plus 72 dogs. Was there any way to survive? More importantly, why did they have to send dogs? This was simply more terrifying than the previous incident where hundreds of thousands of people took turns to do it. Did I go overboard? They actually fainted from fright? Seeing this, the corner of Wang Kai's mouth twitched slightly. He had no choice but to disappear. After arriving at the private room, he turned his hand and swept it. Then, he took off all their clothes. Finally, he changed all of them into the sexy clothes. In a separate room, Wang Kai sat in front of the table, crossed his legs, and looked at the yellow-haired Wang Dachui who walked in. "Boss, there are a total of 108 beautiful employees, 24 waitresses, and pole dancing." "Okay, that's not important. Now go and summon another 108 strong men. It doesn't matter whether their combat power is high or not. The main thing is to make them muscular men with fierce faces. Let them guard the place inside. They only need to stand." Wang Kai shrugged and said rather casually, "Yes, boss." Wang Dachui took the order and left. Wang Kai was quite satisfied with this. This way, he could open for business tomorrow or the day after. At that time, the war with the 18 cities of the second universe would begin. He wanted to see what kind of deities the so-called system owner, the owner of the protagonist aura, were, and how awesome were they. Oh, where is this? Oh my God. Alice, what are you wearing? What are you two wearing? Inside the room, on a king-size bed, Alice and the other two women had all woken up. They looked at each other's sexy clothes. They were so scared that their faces turned pale, and they kept exclaiming. They even began to lift their skirts. They checked if they were still virgins. Fortunately, I didn't get taken advantage of. Alice and the other two women all breathed a sigh of relief and patted their chests. The three of you are awake? Now that you're awake, let's start following the script. First, you'll serve 18 old people, then 36 strong men, and finally 72 dogs. Wang Kai turned the chair around, his back facing them, and threatened them with a strange, fake voice. Ah, is this still the Wulong Bar? Was he the one who changed our clothes after we fainted? Alice and the other two women kept exclaiming and getting off the bed. They looked at the huge chair in front of the table, but they couldn't see who was sitting there. For a moment, they were a little panicked. Who are you? What do you want to do to us? I'm not afraid to tell you. Our husband is very powerful. Even the 4 heavenly kings of Gawang City are not his match. Just a few days ago, he killed 2 of them. Alice pursed her red lips, raised her head, and threatened nervously. Yes, that's right. If you know what's good for you, let us go now. Otherwise, your fate will be very miserable. I guarantee that you will not have a chance to live. Lucille gritted her silver teeth and shouted in a deep voice. Let us go quickly. Otherwise, my knife will slit your neck. Han Yu said coldly. No one is tying you up now, and no one is stopping you. You can go if you want to. What do you mean by let you go? Wang Kai frowned and laughed disdainfully with a strange fake voice. Chapter 1345. Then, can we leave now? Alice and the other 2 girls were stunned. Thinking about it, it made sense. There was no one stopping them at all. They weren't tied up either. If they wanted to leave, they could leave. Why ask him? Of course you can leave. But you have to wear this. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and said sarcastically. Ah, sure enough, as soon as he said this, the 3 women all covered their skirts. They were almost all transparent, sexy clothes. How are they going to wear them out? Where's our school uniform? Give it back to us. Alice gritted her teeth and said, No, just go out like this. If you don't leave, you'll have to wait on me. Wang Kai shrugged and said casually, Let's go. Alice and the other 2 girls clenched their teeth and slammed the door. They really left? Wang Kai couldn't help but be surprised. When he sensed that the 3 girls had left, he used his power to create a set of clothes. He curled his lips speechlessly. I forgot about this. Wang Kai touched his nose. Gone City Academy. Alice and the other 2 girls sat in the student union office with ugly expressions. What should we do? Our mission this time has failed. Lucille lowered her head helplessly. Failing the mission meant that she couldn't be with Wang Kai anymore. Were they going to let Lin Xin have her way? Obviously, the 3 girls were very unhappy. Lin Xin might not succeed. I saw that she went before. Alice suddenly gritted her teeth and said, Then let's sneak over and take a look. What if she's in the Wulong Bar right now? Why do I feel that it's extremely possible? Lucille said with a strange expression. Impossible. She must have been played very badly. Alice shook her head, not believing it all. With Lin Xion's personality, how could she change into sexy clothes? Thinking of this, the 3 girls couldn't help but look at the sexy clothes on the table. For a moment, their expressions became even uglier. Han Yu pursed her red lips and suddenly said, I keep feeling that something is wrong. The 3 of us aren't bad, right? What's wrong? Alice and Lucille looked at her in confusion. We've already fainted and changed into sexy clothes, but in the end we walked out unscathed? Is this possible? Han Yu was somewhat bewildered. Yes, Wang Kai's reputation shouldn't have spread to Wulong Bar, right? Or is it because of Wang Kai that we were able to leave? Lucille exclaimed in surprise. Previously, he had indeed used Wang Kai's name to scare the boss of Wulong Bar. But at that time, he didn't even say the 2 words Wang Kai. Since that was the case, why would the other party let the 3 of them go? No, I keep feeling that something is wrong. Thinking about it, the 3 girls looked at each other and exclaimed, Is that boss related to Wang Kai? That should be it. It must be. Wang Kai must be toying with us. Damn bastard. In the end, the 3 girls all came to their senses. Logically speaking, it would be impossible to escape from this place. Yet, he had managed to escape and was safe and sound. This proved that the boss of Wulong Bar was definitely related to Wang Kai. Wang Kai intentionally asked us to go to Wulong Bar to apply for a job. It was all part of his plan. Alice gritted her teeth and said with some indignation, then what about Lin Xi? Could she be the same as us? Lucille and Hanyu both frowned. Not necessarily. Maybe she succeeded. Let's go, we'll go to Wulong Bar now. We have to see if it's the same as what we think. We also have to see if Lin Xin is working there. As Alice spoke, she had already stood up. Wait, President, it's better not to go, right? Lucille pursed her red lips and said in a low voice with some lingering fear, If it has nothing to do with Wang Kai and Lin Xin didn't succeed in applying, wouldn't we be walking right into a trap if we take the initiative to go? Yes, at that time, we'll be forcefully captured and forced to serve 18 old men, 36 strong men, and 72 dogs. What should we do then? Even Hanyu had lost her confidence at this moment. At this point, Alice sat back down in fear. Even if they had doubts, they wouldn't dare to test things that they couldn't be sure of. What if all their guesses were wrong? In the end, they would still have to suffer a big setback. You don't have to verify it. I've already successfully applied. Clatter. As the door was pushed open, Lin Xin walked in proudly. You succeeded? Impossible. Did you change into that sexy outfit? Alice and the other two girls all stood up and looked at her in surprise. Of course I changed. Lin Xin pursed her red lips and casually glanced at the sexy outfit on the table. She said indifferently, It's not a big deal to change. Isn't it just letting the boss of the bar take a look? If he sees, so be it. It's not like I'll lose a piece of meat. You're actually so bold? Alice was shocked. She didn't expect Lin Xin, the school belle, to not mind being seen by others. This is great. We don't have to go to the Wulong Bar to apply, and we can defeat her. Her body has been seen by other men. Wang Kai won't want her anymore, right? Lucille covered her face and couldn't stop laughing. It could be said that she was trembling with laughter. Hearing this, Alice and Hanyu, who had come to their senses, were also overjoyed. Indeed, her body had been seen by other men. How could she marry Wang Kai? What do you know? Lin Xin looked at them with disdain and said indifferently, You're talking as if you haven't been seen before. You even brought sexy clothes back. I'm afraid you've suffered a lot, right? As soon as she said this, the three girls' faces froze. Indeed, they had suffered a bigger loss than Lin Xin. She had only changed her clothes once under the surveillance camera. But the three of them had been changed by someone else. They definitely hadn't been touched when they were changing their clothes, but no one could be sure about whether they had been touched or not. In comparison, it was obvious who had suffered a bigger loss. We didn't suffer a loss. We successfully escaped. Unlike you, who shamelessly changed your clothes under the surveillance camera. Alice gritted her teeth and pretended to be calm. That's right. Lucille and Hanyu both nodded their heads in agreement. In short, Lin Xin didn't know what had happened to the three of them. As long as she told Wang Kai that she had suffered a big loss, it would be fine. A bunch of idiots. The boss of the Wulong Bar is Wang Kai. Changing clothes was also seen by him. I don't care anyway. If you didn't succeed, then you have no fate with Wang Kai. When the time comes, remember to come to our wedding. Suddenly, Lin Xin smiled and turned to leave. It was as if she had come here to scold Alice and the other two girls. Chapter 1346. Have we been tricked? Alice and the other two girls looked at each other. All of a sudden, their faces were ashen. They had already guessed what had happened. Now that Lin Xin had confirmed it, they were certain that it was Wang Kai's doing. I knew it. That bastard, what should we do now? Alice furrowed her brows tightly, her expression filled with indescribable anger. What else can we do? Let's go find Wang Kai and ask him what happened. As they spoke, the three girls got up and ran out of the student union. They left the Gon City school and went straight to the Wulong Bar. Idiot! How would I know that the owner of the Wulong Bar is Wang Kai? I didn't even succeed after I went there. Looking at their backs, Lin Xin pursed her red lips and smiled disdainfully. She had asked them to go to the Wulong Bar without knowing. By then, it would not be easy for them to escape. It would be best if they were caught by the people from the Wulong Bar. Then, they would lose 3 opponents. It had to be said that Lin Xin had completely deceived the 3 women. Boss, I have 2 coins now. It's enough for me to go to Gawang City. When are you going? Lu Laohei sat on the sofa and asked Wang Kai. He had worked with Wang Kai to get enough 2 coins so that he could have a breakthrough in the wealth system. Now that he had achieved his goal, he was ready to leave Wulong City. Take the 102 coins that I gave you as the purchase of the Wulong bar. If you want to leave, you can leave any time. Wang Kai crossed his legs and said nonchalantly. He had gotten 502 coins from Lin Xin and given 100 million to Lu Laohei. He did not expect this guy to leave after taking 2 coins. Aren't you leaving? There's nothing worth staying in Wulong City. You should go to a stronger city. That's the only way you can reach the top of the 18 cities. Lu Laohei frowned and tried to persuade him. If he had Wang Kai's fighting power, he would be able to conquer the world with him. By then, he would be able to save a lot of time fighting alone. It was only a matter of time before he stood at the top of the 18 cities. I won't go. Maybe before you reach the 18th city, Wulong City, which is ranked last, will become the first. At that time, you'll have to start all over again. Ha ha. Wang Kai rubbed his nose and smiled playfully. Laohei Lu's mouth twitched when he heard this. Naturally, he did not believe that Wang Kai had the ability to do so. If he could do it, why would he open a bar in Wulong City? Since their paths were different, there was no need for them to work together. Thinking of this, Laohei Lu stood up and said apologetically, "Once a boss, always a boss. When I reach the top, if you are still here, I will come and pick you up. Goodbye. Bye-bye." Wang Kai waved his hand in response, and he seemed to be extremely casual. Since the other party did not believe that he had the ability to rule all the cities. In that case, he would just let him choose as he pleased. There was no point in forcing them to stay. Wang Kai did not care about the wealth system at all. Scarface Dragon, do you want to leave with me? Laohei Lu frowned and looked at Scarface Dragon. After going to Gawang City, he would naturally need help. This was much better than fighting alone. I don't have enough combat strength. I can't go. Scarface Dragon shook his head and spread out his hands. It's okay. I can help you improve your combat strength. Moreover, if you go with me now, no one will find out that your combat strength is lacking in the short term. Before that, I will gather enough wealth to help you improve your combat strength. Laohei Lu said with a serious expression. Scarface Dragon was indeed a little tempted when he heard this. As the saying went, man walks to the top while water flows to the bottom. Everyone wanted to climb up. Moreover, there was Laohei Lu who had the system. If he could rely on him to improve his combat strength, that would be great. What do you mean? Scarface Dragon frowned and looked at the short, middle-aged man in the suit and the rest of his underlings. I'll listen to Brother Dragon. I'll stay and follow young Master Kai. Suddenly, the short, middle-aged man in the suit stood up and walked to Wang Kai's side. The rest of his underlings stood behind Scarface Dragon. They all looked at the short man in the suit in confusion. Previously, he was beaten up by Wang Kai at the entrance of Wulong Bar. Now, he was actually willing to stay and continue following Wang Kai. Could it be that he was scared of being beaten up? Do as you wish, boss. When Brother Black and I have successfully become stronger, we will definitely come back to get you. Scarface Dragon frowned and knelt on the ground solemnly. He kowtowed a few times to Wang Kai. As one of Wang Kai's underlings, if he wanted to leave at will, he would need his boss's permission. Obviously, he was kowtowing a few times to beg Wang Kai to let him go. Otherwise, if Wang Kai did not agree, even Laohei Lu would not be able to leave, let alone him. You and Laohei Lu can go. Take care. Wang Kai waved his hand. His expression was calm and casual. Goodbye, boss. Let's go. Laohei Lu and Scarface Dragon left with dozens of their underlings. Only the blonde Wang Dachui, Li Xiaohua, Wen Xian, and the short man in the suit were left in the office. Is there anyone else who wants to leave? Wang Kai touched his nose and smiled playfully. Haha, those idiots and good-for-nothings will regret it sooner or later. Oof. Wen Xian pursed her red lips in disdain and snorted. Then, she sat in Wang Kai's arms. Since the two of them had a physical relationship, she had obviously opened up a lot. No matter in front of people or in private, she was completely living as Wang Kai's wife. In this regard, Wang Kai did not care. He was happy to enjoy it. You shouldn't say that. As the saying goes, people walk to higher places and water flows to lower places. Everyone has their own right to choose. We should respect it. Wang Kai gently shook his head and pursed his lips into a faint smile. Oh, you are so generous. Wen Xian curled her lips and did not care. For example, a strong person like Wang Kai, a strong person who had a bragging system. He could become the strongest person by just bragging a few times. It was ridiculous that Lao He Lu and Scarface Dragon wanted to leave. Before they left, they said that they would come back to pick up Wang Kai. At that time, it was hard to say who would look up to whom. I will definitely not leave. In this life, I will follow you, boss. Li Xiaohua pursed her red lips and said firmly. She thought to herself that now that she was Wang Kai's woman, how could she leave him? Even if she left, there would not be much improvement. It was better to follow Wang Kai. Chapter 1347. You sure know how to talk. Not bad. You'll serve Wang Kai with me tonight. Wen Xian frowned and glanced at her with disdain. Even though that was what he said, he was still very gratified in his heart. At least this woman was not a heartless person. She was also very observant and knew who was stronger and who was weaker. If it was a fence-sitter, Wen Xian would have killed him long ago. I'm not leaving either. Lu Laohe and Scarface Dragon, those two old bastards, didn't even take a fancy to me. What's the use of me leaving? I might as well follow you and conquer the world. The yellow-haired Wang Dachui grinned, looking very casual. He made it sound like he was inferior, but he was not inferior at all. After all, it was an ironclad fact. Scarface Dragon and Lu Laohe did not call him out. Since they did not call him out, it meant that he was not very capable and could not leave Wulong City. Good. You made a good choice. Wang Kai stood up slowly and nodded in satisfaction. Then, he looked at the short man in the suit and said, You're the best. From today onwards, your nickname will be Shorty Mule. Boss, can I change my nickname? This nickname sounds like 2 coins, the short man in the suit said, speechless. 2 coins? You don't like 2 coins? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and looked at him playfully. If that's the case, I really can't leave 2 coins. This is it, Shorty Mule. From now on, I'll be called Shorty Mule. The short man in the suit said with satisfaction. And from today onwards, you are my #1 underling. You can go outside and recruit some fighters for you to take care of. Of course, I will give you the 2 coins you need to take care of them. It's time for me to help you improve your fighting strength. Buzz. As he spoke, Wang Kai pressed his hand on Shorty Mule's shoulder. His combat power was directly raised to 300. This 300 combat power, F*CK. Shorty Mule was so shocked that he could not stop trembling. He thought about Lu Laohe and Scarface Dragon who had left. He could only curse them inwardly. They were all idiots. In Wang Kai's place, he didn't need anything. He could directly increase his combat strength. With Shorty Mule's current power, he could easily crush Lu Laohe and Scarface Dragon. Wang Dachui, you're the second in command. I've raised your combat power to 299. You can't defeat Short Mule, but he can't kill you either. You're competing with each other, but you have to understand the principle of being united against outsiders. Understand? Wang. As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Kai also increased the combat power of Wang Dachui to 300. I gonna be a big brother too? Wang Dachui was still in a state of shock. Sensing the increase in his fighting prowess, he was stunned for a long time. Not long ago, he had never thought that he would one day become a big brother. After all, he was only a waiter at Wulong Bar. How would he dare to think about such things? But now, not only had he succeeded, his fighting prowess had also become terrifyingly powerful. Even in Gawang City, he would be considered a superior powerhouse. Xiaohua, I've raised your combat power to 320. From today onwards, you'll be the manager of Wulong Bar. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and raised Li Xiaohua's combat effectiveness to 320 with a flip of his hand. Li Xiaohua pursed her red lips in excitement at the sight of such combat strength. She had never heard of such a way of raising one's combat power. Even though there were quite a few people who had the system, none of them were as capable as Wang Kai. Even Lu Laohe had to rely on accumulating a huge amount of wealth to help others raise their combat power. Wang Kai, on the other hand, only needed to clap his hands and brag. Manager Li, Wang Dachui, and Shorty Mule went up to greet Li Xiaohua respectfully. They couldn't help it. Their combat power was no match for Li Xiaohua. You're not bad. At least you didn't raise her combat power to my level. Wen Xian squinted her beautiful eyes and sent a telepathic message to Wang Kai. She then looked at him with admiration and said, "I'll brag for you tonight." It was obvious that Wen Xian's combat power was 345, the same as Wang Kai's. At least you know what's good for you. Wang Kai shrugged and said casually. If he hadn't received some benefits, he wouldn't have ended up like this. There was also Yun Yin, who was in the system. He must have found a good time to eat her up. The Wulong Bar will open tomorrow. You guys can go down now and start preparing. Wang Kai waved his hand and said casually, "Yes, boss. Shorty Mule and Wang Dachui. Each of you will recruit 100 subordinates. When the time comes, I will raise their combat power to 280, which is the same as the average level in Gawang City." Wang Kai said casually, "Yes, boss." As the few of them left, Wang Kai looked at Wen Xian with a smile and said, "Kneel down and let's begin." Oof. Wen Xian rolled her eyes and snorted unhappily, but she still knelt in front of Wang Kai. Just as he was about to untie his belt, someone knocked on the door. "Boss, there are 3 female students who want to see you. They are called Alice, Lucille, and Hanyue. Do you want to see them?" The voice from outside was obviously from a waitress who had just been recruited. Did they say they wanted to see me? Wang Kai frowned and asked in surprise. Logically speaking, the 3 of them shouldn't know that he was the boss of the Wulong Bar. Could it be that they were enlightened? "Yes, boss. Do you want to see them?" The waitress outside asked respectfully. "What did you say to them?" Wang Kai said with a frown. "Boss, I didn't tell them who you were. I just asked on their behalf if you were Wang Kai." The waitress replied obediently. Hearing this, Wang Kai was satisfied. He said casually, "Then go back and tell them that the boss of the Wulong Bar isn't Wang Kai. Wait, let's capture them and lock them in the small dark room. Also, tell them clearly that they are walking into a trap." "Yes, boss. I'll get someone to do it now." Following the departure of the waitress, Wang Kai happily retreated and leaned his head back on the chair, enjoying himself. Wen Xian, on the other hand, knelt on the ground and served him skillfully. "What are you doing? Bastards. Your boss Wang Kai and I." "Shut up. Our boss is not Wang Kai. You are walking into a trap. Just wait to be taught a lesson." Bang! There was nothing in a sealed private room. Alice and the other 2 girls were forcefully pushed into the room by a few waitresses. In an instant, it was pitch black. They were so scared that their faces turned pale like ghosts. "Linux Ian, F***CKU. How dare you lie to us?" Chapter 1348. "Boss, they've been locked up." "All right." Hearing the waiter's report, Wang Kai nodded in satisfaction. Then, his figure disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already in front of the door of the small black room. Moreover, he had intentionally changed his appearance to that of an old man in his 50s or 60s. He was wearing a suit and was dressed in a clean and elegant manner. However, his old face and lustful old eyes greatly reduced this image. "The 3 of you are quite bold. I've already let you go, but you still dare to come back? Do you think that the old man's words were a joke?" Clatter. Wang Kai, who was disguised as an old man, let out an ear-piercing sound. The moment the door was pushed open, the private room instantly lit up. This also allowed Alice and the others to instantly see who it was. "It's really an old man. What do you want to do?" They remembered that they had been threatened to serve the 18 old men. It could be said that Alice and the other 2 were extremely flustered. What else can I do? Naturally, I'm going to have fun with you. Otherwise, you can also choose to die or obey. Speak. Wang Kai placed his hands behind his back. Under the activation of his power, he closed the door of the private room tightly. In the blink of an eye, the private room was illuminated by his power. However, this light was shockingly pink. It was quite suggestive and stimulating of certain things. Can I not choose any of them? Alice pursed her red lips, her delicate body trembling nonstop. Hanyu and Lucille were the same. They didn't want to die, but they also didn't want to be ruined by an old man. How can this be? How can there be a perfect thing in this world? Hurry up and choose one. Old man's body is already unable to endure the hunger and thirst. It's probably been more than 1,000 years since he's eaten meat. Hee. As he spoke, Wang Kai intentionally let out a frightening low laugh. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100 experience and bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully increasing your combat strength by 10 points. He hadn't done it for 1,000 years. Why did he come looking for her after doing it today? Alice and the other two looked at each other, feeling extremely unlucky and sorrowful. He had not touched a woman for more than 1,000 years. Now, they met 3 high school students. Alice and the other two did not dare to imagine how the old man would destroy them. What should we do? President? Are we going to die here? Lucille pursed her red lips and asked softly with a pale face. Didn't he just say that I can choose to do it with him and not choose death? Hanyu gritted her teeth and said coldly, Are you willing to be ked by him? I really can't help it. It's too disgusting. Moreover, with my weak body, I will definitely be dried to death. Lucille shook her head, her delicate body trembling nonstop. No matter what, she was not willing to have sex with an old man. That was simply unimaginable. If we die, he might do something to our corpses. If that's the case, we'll be at a disadvantage. Not only will we die, but we'll also be raped by him. Hanyu shook her head and said, President, you have to think of a way. In the end, Lucille and Han, you could only look at Alice. However, Alice was also in a dilemma. She didn't want to die, but she also didn't want to be raped by an old man. She had always been in between the two, hesitating and unable to extricate herself. Now that they were urging her, her panic disappeared. However, the sense of impatience became even stronger. I don't know. You guys decide for yourselves. Alice shook her head and said rather impatiently, We decide? How do we decide? Lucille and Hanyu looked at her with some dissatisfaction. Your bodies are your own. What does it have to do with me? I haven't even thought about it myself. How can I tell you what to do? Alice frowned and said impatiently, I agree to be raped. Suddenly, Hanyu stood up and walked towards Wang Kai. Lucille and Alice were shocked when they saw this. However, they did not do anything. Instead, they wanted to see if Hanyu would die after being raped. Or rather, was it that disgusting? After all, there would always be a bird that stuck out its head. Then let's begin, ha. Wang Kai stroked his beard and laughed out loud. Then, he stepped forward and carried Hanyu horizontally. In front of Alice and Lucille, they started to have sex. The two women saw the entire process clearly. In the end, they couldn't bear to look at it. Wang Kai's outfit was too realistic. Even his figure was as thin as a matchstick. He was no different from an old man. It was even to the extent that the madness of not eating meat for 1,000 years terrified Lucille and Alice to the point their delicate bodies trembled without end. It took less than half an hour. Hanyu was already weak and fainted on the spot. From this, it could be seen how fierce Wang Kai was. How's your choice? Old man hasn't had a good time yet? Wang Kai flipped his hand and threw the naked Hanyu on the ground. Then, he looked at Alice and Lucille. Since you've already done it with her, why don't you let her go? Alice bit her red lips and asked angrily. That's right. Hurry up and let her go. If you don't send her to the hospital, she'll die. She's bleeding. Lucille also had an indignant look on her face. It's always like this for the first time. It's fine. Later, you'll be like her. I just don't know. How will you choose? Wang Kai stroked his beard with a smile and asked indifferently. I can't take it anymore. I want to leave this place as soon as possible. Alice's beautiful eyes reddened, and she immediately took off all her clothes. Seeing this, Lucille gritted her teeth. The last line of defense was completely destroyed. Together with Alice, they walked towards Wong Kai. 4 days later, Gone City Academy, in the Student Union President's office. Alice, Lucille, and Han Yu's eyes were lifeless as they sat there with pale faces. Without saying a word, the space seemed a little strange. Thinking about the nightmare of the past 3 days, they couldn't sleep and eat in peace. It was actually ruined by an old man. Moreover, it was ruined for 3 days and 3 nights. Until now, even if they successfully left the Wulong bar. But the physical and mental pain made them unable to extricate themselves. We have no fate with Wong Kai. It's all Lin Xian's fault. That's right, it's all her fault. We can't let her go. Suddenly, Alice and the other two stood up. All of them gritted their teeth. Their faces were ashen, and their eyes were filled with killing intent. Killing her is too easy for her. We should let her experience the pain we experienced. Alice said coldly. That's right. Moreover, it has to be 100 or 1,000 times more painful than us. Lucille and Han Yu both nodded in agreement. Chapter 1349. Bastard, what are you doing? Let me go. Gone City College. Alice and the other two girls forcefully pulled Lin Xian. They brought her to the student union room. Lin Xian, who had wanted to use her power to break free. Seeing that their expressions weren't right, she didn't rush to use her power. Instead, she wanted to see what had happened to them. Was it as he had guessed? Did he suffer a loss in the Wulong bar? If so, then they had lost the chance to be with Wong Kai. You lied to us. Do you know that? Alice's face was ashen as she questioned with a murderous intent. Lucille and Han Yu stared coldly at Lin Xian from the left and right. What did I lie to you about? Lin Xian shrugged her shoulders and sat on the chair. She crossed her legs and pursed her red lips as she teased. Huh, did you guys get taken advantage of at the Wulong bar? What happened? Tell me. You, Alice and the other two girls held their breaths. Thinking about how they had been tortured by an old man for 3 days, they were furious. The 3 women were enraged, and their hatred was boundless. You're still very calm, aren't you? Alice laughed coldly. She then nodded at Han Yu and Lucille. Buzz. In an instant, before Lin Xian could react. Han Yu and Lucille each took out a white powder wrapped in white paper and sprinkled it on her body. Bursts of fragrant aroma instantly filled the room. It made Lin Xian powerless as she collapsed to the ground, sweating profusely. Even if she was stronger than Alice and the others, she couldn't use any strength at this moment. What did you do? What do you want? Lin Xian lay on the ground. She didn't even have the strength to turn over. She could only glare at Alice. Soft fragrance powder. For 8 hours, you'll be an ordinary person. Alice pursed her red lips and smiled coldly. Damn, Lin Xian. Do you know that because of your lies, the 3 of us were tortured by an old man in his 60s for 3 days and 3 nights? Huh. Slap. Lucille clenched her teeth and went forward to give Lin Xian 3 slaps. My first time was also taken away by an old man. He had even been ravaged by him to the point of fainting dozens of times. You have to pay. You have to pay the price. Han Yu said coldly. As he spoke, he brandished his long saber. Lin Xian's clothes were all cut open and stripped off, not leaving a single piece of clothing behind. Only when he was completely naked did he stop. You, what do you want? I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't know you would be treated like this. Lin Xian's beautiful face finally turned pale, but she couldn't move at all. If only they had known earlier that they would be treated this way. He even specially prepared the soft fragrance powder to deal with him. No matter what he said just now, he shouldn't have followed them to the student union. Now, it was too late for regrets. Not on purpose, so it was intentional. Damn Lin Xian, just you wait. Later, we will personally witness you being attacked by dozens of old men. Alice bit her red lips and let out a crazy cold smile. Lucille, go find him and bring him to school. Han Yu said coldly. Okay. Lucille nodded and sneered as she turned around to leave. Wait, don't do this to me. I really didn't mean to frame you. I didn't know that Wulong Bar was so dark. Let me go, okay? We were classmates. Shut up. Before Lin Xin could finish speaking, Alice and the other two immediately reprimanded her. You also know that we were classmates? Why did you lie to us? Didn't you say that the boss of Wulong Bar was Wang Kai? Didn't you successfully apply for the job? Alice stared at her hatefully, wanting to tear her apart alive. President, there's no need to talk nonsense with her. I'll go find dozens of old men now. They have to be sloppy old men like beggars. Lucille said coldly. No, you can't do this. Wang Kai won't let you off. He's still my bodyguard. Have you thought about the consequences? Lin Xion's pretty face was as pale as paper. She was finally truly afraid. For 8 hours, she couldn't move at all. If she was really ruined by dozens of beggar-like old men, how would she survive in the future? It's useless. We've already lost the chance to be together with Wang Kai. Since that's the case, you can forget about succeeding. Moreover, our only purpose in life is to kill you. In the end, we'll die together. Alice sneered coldly. That's right. Even if you die, I'll let you have a taste of being ruined by dozens of old men. Han Yu and Lucille both had cold expressions on their faces. Their killing intent was boundless. Cough, cough, what are you doing? Old man is a new teacher in the school. I heard that he needs to report to your student union. Why is there a student lying on the ground naked? All of a sudden, an aged voice sounded. An old man in ordinary clothes pushed open the door and entered. He looked to be in his 70s or 80s. His body was bent, and his goatee was very long. Moreover, his old face was wrinkled, and there were a few black moles on his face. On the black moles, there were a few long hairs. It looked extremely disgusting. You're the new teacher? Alice and the other two girls looked at her. In the end, they couldn't help but look at each other and laugh coldly. You came at the right time. Now, she's yours. You can take her in front of us and make her pregnant. Alice pointed at Lin Xian on the ground and said coldly, No, don't do this. Teacher, save me, save me. Lin Xian, who was lying on the ground, naturally saw the old man walking over. However, when she saw him, she felt so disgusted that her entire body turned cold. However, there was nothing she could do. She could only grab onto the last straw. She hoped that this new teacher would be able to save her. However, the result caused her to feel extreme despair. The principal said that the old man had to listen to the orders of the student union. Since that's the case, then the old man will reluctantly do it with her. Cough, cough, it's been a long time since I've done it. It's been dozens of years, but she's still so beautiful, such a young girl. Tisa, as he spoke, Wang Kai, who was disguised as an old man, began to move. In order to prevent anything from happening to Alice and the others, after they left the Wulong Bar, Wang Kai had been tailing them. However, he didn't expect to see such an interesting scene. Wang Kai, who was in the mood, naturally changed his appearance. In the posture of an old man, he pretended to appear in the student union by coincidence. Since there was such a good opportunity to take Lin Xian, Wang Kai naturally wouldn't let go of such a bad opportunity. Chapter 1350. President, this old man is quite powerful. Lucille pursed her lips and blinked her beautiful eyes, watching with extraordinary splendor. On the side, Han Yu and Alice were also stunned. In the end, the three women's faces were slightly red. There was clearly spring in their beautiful eyes. On the other side, Wang Kai was hugging Lin Xian. He just stood on the table and kept making love. Alice and the other two couldn't help but stick out their fragrant tongues and lick their red lips. President, I don't feel well, Lucille said with a blushing face. I'm the same. Let's go. Anyway, I've already been ruined by another old man. It doesn't matter if I'm ruined by this old man again. Han Yu gritted her teeth, put down her long saber, took off her dress, and crawled towards Wang Kai. I can't hold it in anymore. I'm going. Lucille pursed her red lips, took off her dress, and went to the table. Seeing them like this, Alice's pretty face became more and more red. However, she still endured it and tried her best not to look. But her eyes didn't listen. She had to automatically shift her gaze to them. In the end, she could clearly see that the new teacher, an old man, was fighting with Lucille, Han Yu, and Lin Xan. Moreover, the more they fought, the fiercer they became. I don't care anymore. Since I can't be with Wang Kai anymore, I'll just fall. Damn Lin Xin, this is all your fault. Alice's eyes were red as tears streamed down her cheeks. She also took off her dress and went to the table. The scenes that followed could be imagined. You guys are not bad. Wang Kai dressed neatly and looked at Alice and the other three who were lying limp on the table. He couldn't help but shake his head, stroke his beard, and praise. Get lost, get lost. You're expelled. Never come to Gon City Academy again, or I'll kill you. President, let's kill him now. I also think that he deserves to die. Lin Xian, Lucille, Han Yu, and Alice, the four girls, all spoke weakly. In the end, he didn't even have the strength to get up and kill Wang Kai. After tormenting the old man, in the end, you are all comfortable, and you still want to take the old man's life? F***K. Old man's temper flared up. Let's do it again. Whoosh. The moment his voice fell, Wang Kai pretended to be an old man and climbed onto the table. He grabbed the four women and another round of battle began. At night, it was time for school to end. Only then did the great battle stop. When he looked at Lin Xian and the other three girls, they had already fallen into a deep sleep. As for Wang Kai, he was also overjoyed. He changed back to his original appearance, dressed neatly, and sat on a chair. His legs were placed on the table, and he closed his eyes to rest. The next morning, Alice and the other three girls slowly woke up. They were still a little tired, so they looked at each other in a daze. Under the repeated exclamations of surprise. The four girls fell silent. It was obvious that they remembered what had happened before. For a moment, no one blamed each other, whether it was Alice or Lin Xian. They all got the result of deceiving each other. Now, there was only endless regret and helplessness. What are the four of you doing up there in such a white patch? Wang Kai frowned, opened his eyes, and asked in surprise. Wang Kai, when did you come? Lin Xian and the other three girls were shocked and hurriedly turned to look at him. For a moment, they forgot that they were naked. Even when they realized it in the end, they reacted. They didn't want to cover up. They had already been defiled by the old man. In front of Wang Kai, what was there to be so secretive about? If he wanted to see, then let him see as he pleased. If he was willing, the four girls didn't mind serving him together. It could be considered an end to this relationship that was not fated to be. I just arrived. What's going on with you guys? Why are they still? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and pretended not to know anything. He turned his gaze. He looked at the remnants of yesterday's incident. That white milk. Oui. Wah. In the end, the four girls hugged their heads and cried bitterly. It was impossible to deceive Wang Kai now. As a man, how could he not know what that was? You guys couldn't have been raped by someone, right? And the four of you were raped together? This makes me so sad. I love you guys so much. At the end of his sentence, Wang Kai stood up and pretended to be sad as he shook his head and sighed. Hearing this, Lin Xian, Alice, and the other two girls felt even more regretful. There was also endless grievance. Wang Kai loved them, but they had let him down. Such thoughts couldn't help but appear in the minds of the four girls. For a moment, they even felt like dying. The three of us were caught by the people from the Wulong bar. In a sealed private room, we were raped by an old man in his 60s. All this was because Lin Xian lied to us. She said that you were the boss of the Wulong bar. That was why we dared to go there, but we want to catch Lin Xian and let her experience the same pain as us. So, we found a new teacher, an old man in his 70s or 80s, and raped her in front of us. In the end, we couldn't resist, and were also raped. Alice pursed her red lips and said everything as if she was going to risk everything. Now that we are no longer pure, we can't be with you anymore. We have decided to fall or die. You can go. Alice and the other girls lower their heads slightly, their faces pale as they spoke in trembling voices. Fall or die. Hearing this, Wang Kai's mouth twitched. He secretly wondered if he had gone too far, based on the fact that they had taken the initiative to do it with the old man that he was pretending to be. Who knows, they might end up having sex with anyone who came now, right? F***CK. Wang Kai was speechless. For a moment, he didn't know how to face them. How would he explain this? If he explained it clearly, how would they feel? Damn it, my head was hot at that time. After I felt better, my head cleared up and the problem came. What the hell should I do? The corners of Wang Kai's mouth twitched. He felt a headache coming on. Wang Kai's expression kept changing. Lin, Xin, Alice, and the other girls all gritted their teeth and lowered their heads. They were silently regretting it. They knew very well that Wang Kai would not want them anymore. There is something that I want to clarify with you. Wang Kai's mouth twitched. He had no choice but to come clean. Otherwise, if this matter were to continue, it would definitely cause even more trouble. Chapter 1351. What is it? Tell me. Alice raised her head and looked at him in confusion. Lin, Xin, Lucille, and Hanyu were also puzzled. They thought to themselves, what's there to say at this time? Could it be that he would really choose to be with me? Is such a thing possible? With Wang Kai's personality, how could he allow his woman to have sex with someone else? Moreover, it was a terrible old man. Actually, the old man who had the three of you in the Wulong bar was me. Cough, cough. Yesterday, the old man who had the four of you here, the so-called new teacher, was also me. Ugh. Wang Kai touched his nose and said awkwardly, whoosh. As soon as he said this, the four girls were stunned. All of them looked at Wang Kai in a daze. For a moment, it was as if they had gone crazy. We don't need your pity. I know that you said that on purpose to comfort us and to be with us, but we won't allow it. We are no longer pure. Those two old men are really my illusions. Helpless, Wang Kai could only explain in a loud voice. This caused Alice, who had not finished speaking, to be stunned again. It was only when Wang Kai had no choice but to transform the appearance and clothes of the two old men that the four girls completely believed him. It was also at this moment that they came to their senses. Why would Wang Kai appear in the student union? Moreover, it was at such a coincidental time. Then why were you there at the Wulong bar? Alice asked in a daze. An unprecedented sense of joy, as well as shame, continuously emerged. Hanyu, Lucille, and Lin Xin were the same. For some reason, they heaved a sigh of relief and were very surprised. Well, Lin Xin was right. I am indeed the boss of the Wulong bar. Cough, cough, the one who asked you to change clothes in the surveillance was also me. Wang Kai shrugged. He decided to tell them everything. What? You're actually the boss of the Wulong bar? Then didn't I almost send them to your side? Fortunately, you turned into an old man and had sex with them. Cough, cough. At the end of her sentence, Lin Xin pursed her red lips and looked shyly at Alice and the rest. An eye for an eye. We're even now. Alice, Lucille, and Hanyu rolled their eyes at her. How is it? I'm very fierce, right? Seeing that they weren't angry, Wang Kai's interest was piqued. He smiled and shrugged. You, Alice, and the other girls looked at each other, and all of them were secretly ashamed and furious. However, the old man that Wang Kai transformed into was indeed very powerful. If it wasn't for the fact that he still had some fighting power left, they would probably be played to death by him. Do you want to try again? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and asked expectantly. Scram. At the Wulong bar, Wang Kai sat on the chair and said calmly, Tonight, we'll open for business. Inform all the departments to get ready. If there's a poser, arrest him directly. If there's a man, beat him up and take away all his 2 coins. If there's a woman, take away all her 2 coins. If there's a good one, inform me. If there aren't any good, You guys can deal with it yourselves. Yes, boss. Wang Dachui and Shorty Mule respectfully accepted the order and left. Xiaohua, you can go and get ready. If there's nothing important, don't disturb me. Wang Kai waved his hand and said casually, Yes, boss. Li Xiaohua pursed her lips and hesitated. She then asked shyly, boss, can you have me again? Wang Kai was startled when he heard this. He looked at her with some surprise, nodding and praising. I really didn't see it. Is your desire so strong? No. Let's do it tonight. We'll play in the bathroom tonight. Hee hee. Wang Kai rubbed his nose and smiled playfully. Yes, boss. Li Xiaohua blushed and quickly turned to leave. Alice and the others will be here tonight. Wang Kai furrowed his brows as he pondered for a moment. Then, he released Wen Xian from the system. I'll leave the bar to you. I'm a little tired recently. I'll rest here and wake up at night. Wang Kai pretended to be tired and said, You could be tired? What did you do? Wen Xian blinked her beautiful eyes and looked at him suspiciously. I don't have the strength to talk anymore. Go and see how they're tidying up the bar. I heard that there will be a few fangirls coming to see me tonight. Help me receive them. Wang Kai waved his hand, got up, and walked into the room inside. He closed the door with a bang. Fangirls. Wen Xian pursed her lips and was a little surprised. Yin, her long time no see. In the room, Wang Kai released Yun Yin. Then, he picked her up and threw her onto the bed. What do you want? What's happened recently? Yun Yin scanned the room with her divine sense and suddenly blushed. She knew very well that this was a private room. Only she and Wang Kai were here. She was thrown on the bed by Wang Kai. Based on the movie she watched, she could imagine what would happen next. Nothing happened. There's just a small matter that I need your help with. Wang Kai sat beside her with a smile. What's the matter? Yun Yin lowered her head slightly, her delicate body trembling slightly. I've recently contracted a disease called I'll die if I hold it in for too long. Can you help me and not let me hold it in? Wang Kai asked with a smile. What disease is this? Why are you holding it in? What do you mean? Yun Yin furrowed her brows and looked at him in confusion. Ahem, this disease has another name. If you don't have sex with a woman, you'll hold it in until you hang yourself. Do you understand now? Wang Kai shrugged and smiled playfully. Yun Yan's face turned red and she pursed her lips tightly. How could she not know what Wang Kai wanted to do? You'll help me, right? Wang Kai looked at her affectionately. His eyes seemed to be able to speak. Yun Yin scanned the area with her divine sense before hurriedly lowering her head. How can I help you? I don't know. Yun Yin whispered shyly. Even if she wanted to leave now, she couldn't. With Wang Kai's personality, how could he allow such a thing to happen? Yun Yin, who knew the key point, could only choose to deal with it calmly. If she really couldn't, then she could only comply with his wishes. It's simple. If you don't know how, I'll teach you. Wang Kai said with a smile. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.